Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is. Hey, so welcome back. Today we're going to get back to elections, and something you should know. Sorry, I'm trying to tell people. I'm always late to the party, telling people what's happening. We've proved over and over again that they have stolen the elections, and you'll see the media that keeps saying the same thing over and over again. They say that it was disproven theories. I can tell you that there's a bunch of us that now are going to move towards suing all the mainstream media for fraud, for slander, because that's what they're doing. They have access to the same information that we have access to. But let me just tell you what's breaking right now. You're going to want to hear all of this. We have 3 people joining us today. We have Mark Cook, we have Draza Smith, we have Ed Solomon. And we've gotten access to cast vote records in multiple states. There's currently a case against Dominion in Carson County, Nevada. You have Eric Coomer's case against me that's still going on in Denver, Colorado. You have Mike Lindell, where the judge in the federal case of Dominion voting systems versus Mike Lindell stated that, oh yeah, I've already decided that there's defamation. I already made the determination that it's defamation. Doing the same thing that they did with Judge Wong in Denver, Colorado in federal court with Eric Coomer, while keeping out as much information as possible and doing what this thing called in limine. So in other words, in limiting the amount of information you're allowed to bring into the trial that shows that Eric Coomer is in fact a part of the fraud network. So we're going to go through it today. Only today it's a little different. We had cast votes records in Colorado. We didn't look at it from the standpoint of the election for President Trump. We looked at it from the down ballot issues, and more importantly, the issues related to tax increases. Did the people vote to increase taxes? And does the cast vote records tell a story that we need to pay attention to? Well, I think it does. Matter of fact, I know it does. But here's what Ed Solomon was able to get a hold of. He was able to get a hold of the cast vote records for Maricopa County after 4.5 years. So we have the actual cast vote records for 4.5 years. So we're going to have all 3 of these people on. We're going to talk about the fact that we have enormous amounts of information. Enormous. Now, I get the first 5-10 minutes of this show before they come on to tell you about something else, but that'll give you time to tell all your friends, to hit the share button, to tell everyone that this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to break more information because guess what we found in the cast vote records in Maricopa County, Arizona? Anyone want to guess? In the Dominion system? Oh yeah, that algorithm. You know, the thing that allows for you to manipulate elections and cheat across the entire country? See, Dominion Voting Systems is a fraudulent company, and selling it out to Liberty Vote is just putting lipstick on the pig. They know, and now all the media is saying they sold to a conservative. I just want everyone to understand the system as it was built, dating back to 2003, 2002, and 2004. Clint Curtis, the guy that asked that to be done was a Republican congressman from Florida. They're all in it together, guys. You can't tell me someone's on the left or the right. I don't care. No machines, no mail-in ballots. And we're going to show you something really important today. But before we do that, I got to talk to you about the fact that as they have made you a slave, and you are a slave. I'm sorry, you're a slave. I'm sorry, I'm the first one to tell you you're a slave. They got flock cameras on top of every single light in the country. They have flock drones to send you a ticket for speeding down the highway. They can tell if you have a Trump sticker on the back of your car. They can tell you political affiliation. They're collecting everything about you. But in a meeting, in a congressional meeting, there was a congressman who Ted Cruz challenged, who said that it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that rights don't come from the government. We give you your rights, slave. You're gonna want to hear this. Let's go ahead and play this. Cut one.
The notion that rights don't come from laws and don't come from the government, but come from the creator, that's what the Iranian government believes. So the statement that our rights do not come from our laws or our governments is extremely troubling.
So Senator Kaine said in this hearing that he found it a radical and dangerous notion that you would say our rights came from God and not from government. I just walked into the hearing as he was saying that, and I almost fell out of my chair. Because that radical and dangerous notion, in his words, is literally the founding principle upon which the United States of America was created. And if you do not believe me, and you made reference to this, Mr. Barnes, then you can believe perhaps the most prominent Virginian to ever serve, Thomas Jefferson, who wrote in the Declaration of Independence, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator, not by government, not by the Democratic National Committee, but by God."
Not by government. That was Tim Kaine that says that it's a radical idea to believe that you have God-given rights. That a government can come in and basically control every part of who and what you are. We are living in a country that is basically two different dimensions. You have a dimension of good and you have a dimension of absolute evil, who can sit around and lie with impunity. And then they have people that stand up and say, look, we're going to punish the person that's telling the truth. We want you to accept the lie, and if you don't accept the lie, we're going to put you out. That's how absurd it is. Now, I want to bring you to a story. There's a guy named Gavin Wax. Gavin Wax worked with the Young Republicans out of New York City. Gavin Wax several times has betrayed the people around him. And I'm not telling you that what I am about to show you is not objectively offensive. It is. It absolutely is. But at the same time, I want to point something out. And I'm going to point it out with a tweet that I actually wrote that talks about, I'm not going to defend what some of these young men said, but I'm going to tell you why they got there. And I'm also going to tell you the fact that as it becomes very difficult not to get to a place where you're resentful. If you're white and you're not a radical, you're resentful because you're not the racist they are. They steal opportunities from black people and brown people. They steal from them, give them subpar education, and then tell them, hey, we're going to socially adjust you, do the social justice stuff, run you through the ringer. And through all that, you're going to tell everyone that you need reparations. I mean, we're going to force white people because they're bad. Oh, and by the way, I'm a Jew. I'm not really white. So you can't hold me in that group. So we get to demonize white people and say we need everybody else to have opportunities except for white people. And oh, by the way, except for us Jews, who we'll talk about the synagogue of Satan, because there's a difference between Jews and the people that are synagogue of Satan, the people that are telling you cut off body parts and groom children and do all that stuff. And we've got to start delineating between the two and not letting them hide behind good people. It's like black people that kill a bunch of people. It's not the same as every black person that walks through the door. Yeah, we're supposed to delineate bad people from good people, but not when it comes to white people. Not all white people are bad. So I'm talking about the Politico that had thousands of leaked messages showing leaders of young Republican groups joking about gas chambers, slavery, rape, and in a private Telegram chat. So they had a bunch of stuff in here. This is a Politico article. So let's pull up the Politico article if we can, please. Do we have it? The Politico article? Actually, if you just click on the tweet, it'll take you to the article. It's a pretty amazing thing. There you go. And you had people that said stuff that, I mean, frankly, it's disgusting. I mean, some of the stuff they said was disgusting. Now, I will tell you there's two things that I will say about this. One, there's a thing that happens when you're joking around. If you were to come to dinner at my family's home and see some of the things that we said to each other, and we have a mixed family, we have an interracial family, and you said that you would be offended. If you would see some of the jokes that me and my business partner talk about, he's a gay married father of two, right? I mean, I think they invented HR because me and him can't seem to not say objectively things that would be offensive to most gay people. But you know what? We actually have a good time laughing about those things. Now, I'm not saying that anything in here is laughable. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, let me tell you as you read through this, why it happened. And it's really simple. Now, they made a big deal out of this. Gavin Wax leaked all of these chats. He basically held someone hostage and said, you need to give them to me. Now, here's what you need to know. I have a lot of stuff on Gavin Wax. I think it's time that we actually expose the fact that there are embarrassing things that everyone does in their life. And the fact that we're going to try and ruin these young people over this, I find it absolutely offensive. But they referred to one tweet in particular that said I'd go to the zoo if I wanted to watch monkey play ball. They didn't. They took that out of context, by the way. I got a chance to read through some of this stuff, and they created something that really wasn't there. And they did so in a way to try and destroy the young people coming up. At first, they killed Charlie, and after they killed Charlie, they want to make every young conservative out there to be a bad person. And they said that Charlie was a bad person, but Charlie wasn't. Charlie was a good man who stood up and debated the ridiculous and moved people on the political paradigm over to a place where they had to think for themselves. So as you read this article, which you could see the seething happening at Politico, but it wasn't the radical left that just gathered this information. It was someone that said that they were a Christian conservative. They could have actually walked into this Telegram chat and said, you know what? I find what you said offensive. I find what you said objectively not something that you want to bring other young people into. And this is not who we are. Could have done that. Instead, Gavin Wax took that information, walked it over to the radical left machine and said, let's destroy these young people. Because that's what you do when you're a Christian conservative. That's what you do when you say that you stand up for what's right, is that you try to destroy everything that is represented by what's good, by not being an example and leading these young people into a place where you can tell them that, hey, what you said is wrong. Let's not do that. Now, what they didn't say is that there were black, there were Hispanics, and by the way, in the military, nothing is sacred. Gay, straight, black, white, Asian. If you don't get made fun of in the military, something's wrong with you. Sorry. At least in most military circles. So here's what I wrote about this. And I'm going to do a whole expose on Gavin Wax. I put out a tweet about this. And I think almost our guests are here. I see Draza in the background. It'd be great to see her. But I wrote this tweet this morning amongst mixed reviews and, by the way, being shadow banned. Because that's what X's new thing is that they're going to basically take away your ability to talk to anyone if you don't say exactly what they wanted you to say. X is disgusting. X is no better than Rumble or no better than the others. Frankly, I think the only thing left that we can get back to is going to be Truth Social. And we'll see if that sticks. I said, I'm angry, and you are cowards. Republican young kids you want to attack, the ones you say are vile and disgusting, they learned to speak like this after years of being told that being white is a crime, that they are lesser. You build it with your lies and disgusting propaganda. You create a group that is disenfranchised with the Jews are special race, grooming of children, stuffing gay flags in their face, building animus on college campuses built on fabricated narratives, giving air to the ridiculous and ignoring reality. You create a generation of pissed off and quite vocal young men who frankly are just trying to figure it out how to throw punches against a narrative with no foundation of truth, and the generations before them afraid to stand and speak. You're an embarrassment. You think your punches are going to do what exactly? Get these young men to cower? No, it won't. But it does expose the clown leftist operative, Gavin Wax, who used the leftist rag Politico to attack these young men. He will never be trusted again, and he will fall into more irrelevancy. He sought to a weapon to hurt these young men. And while you can find some of the things they said objectively offensive, they were blowing off steam with humor and responding to objectively offensive attacks on them for years. The fact that the weak-ass Republicans are cowering and not talking about the reality of the frustration boiling over is telling. The cowards appear to be on both sides of the aisle, one that grooms children in hopes of spreading their filth, evil, and deviancy, and the other side too cowardly to stand up for what's right and address the obvious root of their words. Both equally disgusting and equally pathetic. Yeah, let the young men take the bully treatment, cowards. You are the same, one that promotes the deviancy and evil, and the other that lets it speak and act with impunity. Heaven forbid you stand for truth and work the problem. Pathetic. That's how I see it. And for the leftists that would listen to this podcast, like Coomer, you should be listening to this. You are going to jail. You guys are going to jail. You're going to jail. I've seen it. There is no justice in the world if you don't go to jail. And I have all the confidence in the world, you're going to jail. Now, the Young Republicans issue a statement calling for those involved to resign. Again, the wrong thing to do. You weaponized the system and you went after your own. No one will want to join the Young Republicans again because you violated the very essence of what happens here stays here. And the Young Republicans are not just all white. The Young Republicans are disenfranchised blacks, disenfranchised Hispanics, people that woke up and decided that, hey, racism just isn't what you say it is. They said, we are appalled by the vile and inexcusable language revealed in the Politico article published today. Such behavior is disgraceful. Unbecoming a Republican and stands in direct opposition to the values our movement represents. These involved must immediately resign from all positions within their state and local Young Republican organizations. We must hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity, respect, and professionalism. Was that before or after you didn't come in, because you knew it was happening? You didn't come in and you didn't lead these young men. You didn't do it. You want to put it on them in a Telegram channel that's been going on for years, going back 6 or 7 months. Put it all together, and you know that you had people inside of those chats that are radical leftists that created it, that fed it, and yet you want to go after these young men. You had an opportunity to lead, and you didn't. You didn't lead. Nobody stood up and said in there, hey, we shouldn't be talking like this. Nobody went up to the upper echelons of the Young Republicans and said, hey, listen, we should probably have a conversation with these young men. We should let them get out their frustration. And then we should return to our values that this organization should be defined by. Yeah, they didn't do that. They didn't do that. Instead, what they did is they gathered up the information, they weaponized it, they walked over to Politico, and they said, let's destroy these young men. Because that's what leaders do. That's what the Republican Party is designed to do, is just destroy everything in front of it. You want to know why there is no unity in the Republican Party? Because you let shit like Gavin Wax exist. And instead of holding leadership accountable and saying this shouldn't happen, you want to throw those kids out, which teaches them nothing about what they're in the middle of. Nothing. So you can't redeem the irredeemable, but the irredeemable are not these young Republicans. It's the people that led them into fire and then just unleashed the demons on them. You're disgusting. And frankly, you all should resign. And these young Republicans should get a chance at redemption because that's what it's built on. That's what the whole idea should be built on. And I want to remind you of something else. Jay Jones, text messages calling for the death of his opponent, and is still in the Attorney General's race in Virginia. Called for the death of someone's children. And then when asked on the street, Democrats said, 94% of the time, said, yeah, I think they should die. That's how we are living in two separate worlds. One that's reality and one that isn't. We want to hold these young Republicans, we want to hold them accountable. Only it's not the left that's doing the skinning. It's people in our own party that said they stand up. This is the biggest problem I have with President Trump, is that he had people in his own party that walk past his policies and say, yeah, we're just not going to do that. We're going to wait him out. In 2026, we're going to use the system that now we supposedly control to make sure that we can deball him. And you know what's happening. So let me show you the professional website of Gavin Wax real quick, and then we're going to get to our guest. He has a website, and I've talked to Gavin. I'm embarrassed. You know what? You want to attack young people? I'm not interested. I'm not interested. But Gavin's got his own website. He's a nationally recognized conservative political strategist. So his strategy includes going to Politico and saying, let's destroy these people that are part of our party. Grassroots organizer known for revitalizing America's populist right. A champion for national sovereignty, constitutional liberty, and working class conservatism. Gavin has dedicated his career to advancing a bold vision for the American future. Well, do you remember the article years ago about people connected to James O'Keefe pooping all over his boat? Guess who was in the middle of all that? Gavin. Gavin was. There is a lot to be learned in the Republican Party. We eat our own, but frankly, we don't eat our own. We have disgusting people that made it into leadership that don't know how to lead other people, and they don't know how to treat people. They don't know how to create an opportunity where kids that are coming up can thrive. Nah, we'd rather just say, have a seat and then use the machine the radical lefts have built in order to destroy those people. I'm offended, fully offended. All right. Do we have everyone? All right. We're gonna pivot into the story of the day. Last night, late at night, I got a phone call from Ed Solomon. He goes, "You're not going to believe this. Are you sitting down?" I said, "I'm driving." I'm going to put together a bunch of things. We're going to talk about. We have an election slide presentation from Draza. We're going to talk about the math. Then we're going to talk about Ed's election info from Nevada. We're going to then pivot that into the Maricopa 2020 proven fraud with parallel lockstep motion. Now, the lockstep motion is what it looks like. The math is what it is. And that's the PID controllers, the algorithms that were designed to steal elections inside the machines, not just with Dominion, but ES&S, Smartmatic, all the way down the line. So with that said, I'm going to welcome all three of our guests in today. We have Draza Smith, Mark Cook, and Ed Solomon. Welcome. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's great to see you.
Well, I believe
I agree.
Mark is right. We want to call it synchronized election results instead of parallel lockstep motion.
So this is kind of a big deal for me. I wrote that paper and I sent it to everyone. Where I did all the research on Eric Coomer. I had a bunch of other people that were involved in it. And Draza, you and I talked back and forth about some of the math, which I was amazed by what we hadn't had a conversation in 6 months, 8 months. And then you're like, "Hey, let me show you something." And I was like, holy crap. Right. And I'm now taking that and I'm melding it all together to get to what I think is perfect math. So it's going to be great to go through these different pieces and parts. Mark, I heard you got in an accident.
Well, I'm good, but my trailer was parked at a truck stop,
You have
and
yourself on mute.
No, I can hear him.
Is that better? Yep.
Can we make sure
All right,
everyone
I'm
can
good.
hear everyone else? Okay, go ahead.
Cool. So yeah, anyway, I was at a truck stop. My trailer was there. I was out doing a presentation in a county, and I came back. It was dark late at night and snowing, raining. I just went in, went to sleep. I woke up. I drove to a morning breakfast meeting with these same citizens. And when I came out to my trailer, I looked and saw a huge hole in the front of it. And I called the truck stop I was at the night before, and they found out a Walmart trailer backed into my trailer and put a hole through the side of it and broke the wall and caved the wall in. So I'm limping along with a duct tape on the outside of it right now. It's still mobile, but I'm dealing with all of this ordeal now. But anyway,
Here's a story.
if you look at the state of our country kind of looks about like my trailer looks right now. So we're going to fix this, all of it.
All right. And Ed, I know that you have two very important jobs. One is to put together information when it comes to election data and cash flow records. The other is taking care of your grandma. So you can tell everyone how your grandmother's doing.
So she's been in hospice with failure to thrive, although she's been walking the last few days, so maybe she's getting better finally. but it's been really rough. So my sleeping schedule, as you can see, is about the same as condition as Mark's trailer right now. I just woke up to get on this show.
Hey, my trailer doesn't look that bad, Ed. Come on.
Okay.
It only got hit by a semi, okay? Come on.
So what do we want to start with? Do we want to start with Ed's information? Draza, do you want to start with your information? We got 3 hours, and we're going to work this problem all the way through. The information is pretty dramatic.
I think it's always best to just start with synchronized election results in Nevada, and then I'll let Draza and Mark talk before I talk about Maricopa later.
Okay. So
Can I do a 1 minute intro real quick?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. He's better than I am.
Okay. I'm going to bring it down to normie level here, which is probably most of the audience here. So what we've got elections that are really just illusions. And what we have is they've created a system where the citizens go through the motions, whether they're voting on a touchscreen or voting on paper, it's all getting fed into these electronic systems. And that's a layer of what's called obfuscation. It's a hiding layer for what goes on in the background. And then what they pump out is results from this system, but none of us know what's going on inside the system. In a lot of counties around the country, we're able to look at what's called cast vote records. And what that is, that's a list of all the ballots and the choices on all the ballots. And when we look at that data and analyze it, what we're seeing is patterns in the data that prove that it's not matching what the input is. The ballots, the voters themselves are putting their votes into this system, and then the results we're getting out of the system is not normal. It's not organic. It's not random data. It is very organized data coming out of these systems, and there's no way for random data to go in and organized data to come out. That reeks of manipulation. In a normal election, you have random data go in, and then you have random data come out, and then you have election results from that data. So in the patterns that we're seeing, that's what Draza, and I met Draza, gosh, back in 2021 when Draza was starting to look at the data and starting to graph the data. And I remember she'd call me and say, Mark, you won't believe these patterns I've seen. Look at this. And she'd send me the graphs over and I'd look at it. And absolutely inorganic patterns. And this is where the idea of a PID controller came in, which is basically it's like your set point on a thermostat in your house, where you set a point that you want to target for a temperature, and then the mechanical system and the electrical system within your HVAC system all work together to produce that output temperature. So whether it's an air conditioner or whether it's your furnace, they add heat or remove heat to hit that target temperature, and they do it in little steps to try to hit that point. And that's what Draza was initially seeing in the data. Then Ed's even taken a further look into the other patterns within the data that resulted in this PID looking component. So what's happening is the convergence. All of these theories that we have had based on the evidence we've seen are all working together, reaching us to the same conclusion. And so, what I'm doing is I'm trying to travel around the country helping normal citizens that aren't mathematicians, that don't have this background, understand what they're looking at is an illusion. And we have patterns in the data that experts like Draza and Ed have found in the mechanics of how that data is arriving in that particular fashion. So that's kind of the high level. Basically, we have fake elections. The data is being manipulated inside these systems, and what we are getting on the outside are results and then a pattern of data that proves that the data is manipulated and not coming from the citizens themselves. So that's the high-level intro, and I'll hand it off to Ed to go into the detailed mathematics.
All right. The analogy I would give is that it's a difference between a diamond and a synthetically engineered diamond. Experts can tell right away in the gem business which gems are authentic and taken out of the ground due to natural chaotic patterns that arise within those gems, and those that are synthetically created in a lab. Okay? Mark says fake elections. I would say it's worse than that. I would say it's synthetically engineered elections, and they're trying to pass them off as authentic in a cast vote record, which we're going to show you. Draza?
Oh, I thought you were gonna cover your data.
I am. I was wanting to do an intro first.
Oh, okay. So I have been looking at all aspects of the election. So we can look at the way that the donations come into the campaigns. We can look at the way that people have been tracking and observing that the voter rolls are manipulated. We can look at people looking at the voter history that shows that somebody who voted in person in 2024 suddenly either hasn't voted or voted by mail. And then we can look at what the news is reporting, which is a different data set than what is coming out of the cast vote records from the machines. It doesn't matter which part of the data that you look at. It all shows manipulation to come to a final result that we're presented with as what we should believe the fair and free elections result in, and it's all manipulated.
All right.
That's correct.
Draza, are you guys conspiracy theorists? I mean, would you rather be doing something other than what you're doing right now to look into this stuff?
Yeah, I'd rather be taking care of my grandma and sleeping 12 hours a day. So me and my aunt were on normal sleep schedules.
Yeah.
Because we have to alternate. Than spending 12 hours a day plus, 6 or 7 more on election food. It's very, very difficult. I've been doing this for 5 years. I really wish the Trump administration would just do its job with the obvious evidence and finish the job for me now and start throwing these people in prison. I really don't want to be doing this anymore.
As far as what you said, if I'm a conspiracy theorist, I kind of argue with that classification.
Oh, one thing.
In general,
Draza, we're all using the certified cast vote record. It's an indisputable data source.
It's theirs.
That they certify to be true and authentic.
Understood.
Yeah, the county data.
And how many? And the information from Maricopa County took 4.5 years.
Yeah, but people go to jail every day for conspiracy. Conspiracy is real. If you have people that get together and have the ability to manipulate something into a better outcome for their personal behalf, people do that far too often. So conspiracy is real. I'm also
right. Other than like, crimes that are motivated out of passion, like a murder, immediate murder, or something maybe that you do on your own, like a burglary or a robbery, right? Most advanced crimes, most crimes that are like out of passion or out of immediate need for drug money or something, they're planned by multiple people. It's almost always conspiracy.
Yeah. So what they've done is they played these word games with us, and they've got most of America thinks conspiracy theory means fake. They equate the word fake to conspiracy theory. And then even worse, they equate the word conspiracy to fake. So I've seen people look at something that's fake and they say, oh, look, that's a conspiracy, because they don't understand what the term conspiracy means. It's conspiring. Multiple people conspiring. And a theory is a potential. It's something that's potential that we need to look into. And that theory, a lot of times, will turn into fact once you find evidence to support the theory. And what we have here is evidence supporting a lot of the theories that we've had. So just because something's a conspiracy theory, that's just the beginning. Then it turns into conspiracy fact, and then it turns into conspiracy crime. And that's exactly what we have here.
Right.
All right, can we pull up Nevada?
Yeah, do you want to drive and just share your screen, and we'll put the three of us on the side and have your screen be showing the actual, and that way you can fully drive? You want to do that? Or we can do it the other way. I just know how fast your mind works, and you're like, no, just bring this up.
He's working on it.
Oh, great. Pull it up. Pull it up.
There we go.
Go to the other image where you have brown regions in the top right, in the top left. The other Nevada image.
They say you only have one from you. Is this not the right image?
That would that's two. That's one of two images I sent.
Okay.
Can you share your
Oh.
screen, Ed?
Hold on. I'm just going to send it to him now. He's right. I didn't send him jury 01. So this is the very first slide that we're putting in Andy Thompson's case in Nevada. Andy Thompson versus Secretary. So I'm sending it to him now.
Okay.
So just keep that off the screen. So what you're going, let me summarize what you're about to see before you see it, okay? I take all of the mail-in ballots in Clark County, Nevada in the 2024 general election, okay? And I put them in bins of 13,000 ballots. Why the number 13,000? Well, actually, because it's arbitrary, okay? It's 3% of the total mail-in ballots cast, which is about 450,000, okay? And in each batch of 13,000 ballots, I split them into Trump voters and Kamala voters. And then I ask, how did Trump and Kamala voters vote, supposedly, on state question 3 in Nevada, which was to adopt open primaries in future elections, okay? And what you notice is that Trump and Kamala voters, they move in lockstep over time between each batch of 13,000 ballots to the next. What do I mean by move in lockstep? Well, if Trump voters go up by 5% from between the two batches, Kamala voters also go up by exactly 5%. And then when Trump voters go down by 16%, for some reason Kamala voters also go down 16% from batch to batch. And this happens throughout the entire mail-in vote of Clark County, okay? Did he receive the image? Because I would like them to see that.
A quick clarification on what you're saying. What people need to understand when Ed is talking about up 5% and down 5%, he's talking about the ratio of those voters that are voting for Trump, for the proposition and against the proposition. It's not a number of voters. It's that when the people that voted for the Republican presidential candidate are voting higher for the tax referendum, the Kamala voters follow. So it's not a number of voters. It's the pattern in which they're voting for or against a different race.
And I'm going to give a further analogy.
Yeah.
So let me give you this one. Let's say there's a pie. We bake a pie on election night, and each of the slices of the pie are a race or a referendum. And we have blueberries on the pie, and we have cranberries on the pie.
Yes.
And the blueberries would represent people that vote for Biden, and the cranberries are people that would vote for Trump. And there's a distribution of blueberries and cranberries on different slices. So what's happening is, like in the middle of the night, someone's going in there and rearranging the blueberries and the cranberries on the pie, moving them from slice to slice to rearrange them to give a heavier percentage of blueberries or cranberries on one slice or another.
All right. Can we get that image?
Yeah, let's put up the image.
All right. I want him to zoom into the top left.
Top left. Can you zoom in the top left? There we go.
Okay. So let them read the title at the top. Okay. So this is Trump. So this is Trump voters in red and Kamala voters in blue. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're asking how they voted independently, either partisan choice. How did they vote on state question 3? That's SQ3. In each batch of 13,000 ballots. That's what we're asking.
Yeah.
So you see where the x-axis at the bottom, that's the percentage of the mail-in ballots counted. So there's 450 mail-in ballots total. So when the x-axis says
450,000.
Yes.
Okay, got
When
it.
the x-axis says 50%, that's 50% of 450,000, which would be 225,000. Okay. So the x-axis is a percentage of ballots, mail-in ballots counted, ordered as they were processed in the cast vote record. Okay. Now what we're seeing here in this picture is, again, the red line, the light red line, maybe it looks pink to some people, is how Trump voters in each batch of 13,000 ballots decided on state question 3. And this is the opposition rate. So at time 30% on the x-axis, I look it up and I see the pink line is at 65%. That means 65% of Trump voters are against state question 3. They do not want open primaries in future elections. At the same time, at 30%, Kamala voters in blue, they're at 48% opposed. So 48% of Kamala voters are opposed to open primaries in future elections, and that batch of ballots that occurs 30% into the mail-in count. Okay. Now let's look at 60%, times 60%. And you'll see there that the pink line hits its highest, which is 70%. That means 70% of Trump voters are against open primaries in that batch of ballots of 13,000. Likewise, Democrats are at 60%. At 46%. So 46% of Kamala voters in blue opposed open primaries at that moment in time. Now I want you to notice something here. All the regions shaded in brown. Okay, now I could have gone from 0 to 100% of the count, but I wanted to expand it out a bit more so you could see it with your eyes. Okay, so I did half of the timeline. In each of those brown regions, Trump and Biden voters Trump and Kamala voters, they increase at the exact same time in their opposition to state question 3. And in each black region between the brown regions, they decrease by the same amount in their opposition to state question 3. And they do that for the entire mail-in vote for 450,000 mail-in votes, for 500,000 ballots.
So that's a PID controller.
Yes. Now show them the middle.
That's the algorithms. That literally you can't. This cannot naturally occur in an election. But okay, keep going.
Now show them the middle center, whatever, top center. I'm very tired, guys. Forgive me.
Just move it over one, please. There you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
Now you're looking at the rate of change. How much Trump voter and Kamala voter opinion changed between each set of 13,000 ballots. They're right on top of each other. Okay, now zoom down to bottom center. This is called a precinct preserved shuffle test. All I do is take the existing ballots in the cast vote record, and I shuffle them. I shuffle I shuffle ballots from a precinct with other ballots from that precinct only, to preserve any demographic or geographic trends that may have evolved over time. And this is what you get. You get this random noise running in and out of itself, as you would expect in a fair election. Go to the top right now. This is the actual election, and the correlation between the rates of change of Trump and Kamala voters on state question 3 is 0.90. Now go to the bottom.
No, hold on a second. Tell them what. Not everyone knows what the R squared value is. Tell them what that is.
All right, go to the top center.
We're still there.
Top center.
Okay.
Those lines are almost equal to each other.
Right.
If they were exactly equal to each other, you would have a correlation coefficient of 1.00. So this
which would tell them what it would look like on the graph.
It would be,
you'll be able to differentiate the colors.
Right. And we're almost at the point where we can't differentiate the colors. Almost.
Right.
Okay.
Whereas if you go down to bottom center, this is just me shuffling the existing ballots. You can tell which one is red and which one is blue. Now show them the correlation.
And there's a reason why. A lot of people might claim that, well, one precinct is a certain demographic and another precinct's a different demographic. They might claim demographics. So what Ed's doing in this shuffle test, he's shuffling the ballots in the precinct itself. Actually, it takes away that argument because they're shuffling the ballots intra precinct. That's the point of it.
All right, now let's go to the bottom right. And this is what the scatter plot looks like in a fair election. The correlation is 0, R squared 0, 0. So if I run this test 4,000, 10,000, 16,000 times, and I record that correlation coefficient after each test, I then get the mean and what's called the standard deviation of the expected correlation coefficient, and it puts the actual election at R squared 0.9, 12 to 13 standard deviations above the mean expectation, which is the same chance of finding one unique atom inside of a boiling hot tub.
Impossible.
Right.
Okay, so and this is not on the question of Trump. This is not on the question of Trump-Biden. This is something that just it just shows you how deep the election fraud goes, and they can turn on an election and turn off an election. They can create fraud out of nowhere, individually on different states, counties, by the press of a button. They can basically just
they have full control.
Call it. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a fully engineered system. They've created a system where they can engineer the results to make it look legitimate to most people that examine it. Even people that examine some election data, some of it looks legitimate until you look deeper. And that's what Draza and Ed have done. And they've caught
Let me give the example, Mark, of what you're saying from Joe Oltmann himself. So Mr. Oltmann had asked me to look at the repeal of Gallagher. It was a ballot proposition in Colorado in 2020. And when I initially looked at it, I told him there was nothing wrong because I didn't split it into Trump and Biden voters in 2020. I just looked at the overall yes to no ratio. It was a flat line. It had no inclination. And I just told Joe, hey, listen, man, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know what to tell you. I have to move on to something that's actually has potential.
Well, I mean,
Joe
in fairness,
said no.
I bothered the shit out of you over that.
Yes. Joe said, no, it had to be rigged. There's no way anybody would, in mass, would have voted to triple their property taxes statewide. So then I got an idea. I said, well, I don't know. Let me split into Trump and Biden voters. If those are also flat lines, then I have to move on. They weren't. They moved in lockstep parallel motion, just like you saw here in Nevada. And that's what started. That's when I started looking at ballot propositions split by partisan choice, like Trump or Biden or Trump or Kamala or a Democrat or Republican senator.
Okay,
but initially, I thought there was nothing wrong with the election.
Yeah, but I mean, we got to it pretty quick because we took different counties, and one did not have any sort of manipulation, but it wasn't a Dominion system, and the other one did. And so you looked at it and said, Joe, I'm not finding anything. When you first saw it, you said, I'm not seeing any irregularities, and I said, okay. And that's when we looked at that we started, basically moving the model around and saying, okay, let's look at the individual data points. All right, where are we going from here? What are we going to?
All right, before Draza and Mark speak, I want you to go to the second Nevada picture. So this is going to put in this. I call this the twilight zone. This picture, okay?
Picture 2, guys. Picture 2. There you go.
All right, zoom in on the
left.
top left. Okay, it's pretty much the same graphs you saw before. It's the same election.
Top left.
It's
guys.
Trump and Kamala voters split and how they voted on state question 3. Please zoom in on the top left. All right, they both look white, so I'll give you the direction. The bottom line is the white line, and it's how Kamala voters in Congressional District 3 voted on state question 3. And the green line, which is the top line, it's how Trump voters voted on in Congressional District 1 on state question 3. Now go to top center.
Top center, guys. Top center, guys. Top center.
So here's the rates of change. Again, they're superimposed on each other. And what this is saying is that Kamala voters in District 3 are moving in lockstep with Trump voters in District 1. So how do Kamala voters, do they have telepathy, Joe? Did they tell, did Kamala voters say, hey, we changed by 8% on our stance on state question 3 from batch X to batch X plus 1. So you Trump voters have to do the same thing in Congressional District 1. That's what that graph says.
So this is 2 different districts.
Yes, 2 different congressional districts in Clark County.
So let me just, people need to understand this. One, the white line is how Kamala voters living in District 3 voted on question 3.
Right,
The
it's
green
how much
line,
they changed, yes.
so the green line is Trump voters living in U.S. District 1 voted on question 3. So one's Trump voters and one is Kamala voters from 2 different districts.
They're synchronized.
So how would that
That's
be
the problem.
possible in a
They're
real
synchronized.
election?
Not at all.
This is why they.
How would that even be possible? I mean, this is how absurd it is. This is how absurd it is right here.
Yep, they're moving the blueberries and the cranberries around. That's all they're doing here.
Talk to me, Coomer.
Well, he's going to have to when we show Maricopa. All right.
Oh, it gets so much worse. It gets so much
Draza
worse.
and Mark do their thing. I got to help Grandma real quick.
Okay, let's move over quickly to Draza's presentation, please. Draza, thank you for taking your time out to join us. When you put it all together, this is when you start to get to the part where you have people in the media who have been institutionally dishonest to the point where they have slandered all of us. Like, we have worked for 5 years. Mark drives around everywhere. Draza, you should probably tell the story. I know you probably don't want to. I'll tell it just because I think there has been times that people on our side has said it's PCAPs. And I was like, and Draza was like, I'm out. Am I wrong, Draza?
No, you're not. It did when you understand. So PCAPs, that's a file format that's used for network data collection. So when you look at all of the information that we have available, it's not just as simple as somebody telecommunicating in. It's everything. It's the mail-in ballots. It's the manipulation of the database itself. It's so much. It cannot be explained by a simple going in and flipping votes via network communication. It's more, sadly, more integrated than that.
Way more integrated, and frankly, the whole idea of packet captures was wholly insane. And it wasn't a laser beam from China that did this. It was people in our own government and our own system that did this.
Yeah, that's how I met Draza initially, actually, was looking at the PCAPs. That's what I was there for. And she was in the room. We looked at it. We realized, no, this is fake. And I was worried that it was fake. That's why I wanted to get involved in the first place, because my fear was that someone was lying to Mike about this and using Mike to completely focus us on something else. So we missed what the real problem was. And that's why I showed up. So I'm so glad to have met Draza there.
You have a lot of incredible stuff that happened that gave them the ability, food, fire, for them to discredit all of it so they could hide the improprieties in plain sight, which, by the way, was Eric Coomer's Instagram deal, was hidden in plain sight for all to see. That was his Instagram handle. Yeah, weird, huh? Sorry, go ahead, Draza. Let's start on this. I'm not fired up at all, by the way. I'm totally.
No, I did. So I did get a phone call last night at midnight from Ed as well. So I didn't have a lot of time to put this together. So if you do, you have the slides available to
Yes.
show? So okay, so
Can we put the
Yeah,
slides
so-
up from Draza?
sometimes just start at the beginning and we'll walk through them. So sometimes when I start discussing this, I even forget how much we have seen over the course of this that just shows manipulation. So I started with this slide. This right here is what got me interested in looking at the evaluation, not this particular slide, but this data set. So this data set is the Edison data. That Edison is a company that reported the results on election night that was shown by the New York Times. So what the percent Trump over percent Biden is here, this is one number that if you take the number of Trump votes and the number of Biden votes that they had on the screen at any time during election night, and you make a ratio of that and then plot it over time, then you would see what's going on. Now, once I started looking at each of the states, this is the red line is Louisiana's Trump to Biden votes, and the green line is Indiana's Trump to Biden votes. So even though they had different percentages, when you start looking at the path that they walk, you can see the same shape factors, like this was a plan in place to convince people that this is the way our elections are going to stack up. So these are the numbers that were flashing on the screen as they were updating the 2020 elections all night long. And I don't know if this makes a lot of sense to other people watching, but basically, when you look at the path that's being walked, it's kind of like if you take and you plant two seeds of the same variety, as they start growing, they're going to produce the same starter leaves, and then the leaves that come out next are going to look the same. But if you plant two different seeds, then when those final leaves start coming out, they're gonna look different, and you're going to be able to identify them as different because the pattern's different. But here, what I did is I drew the gray lines that you can see everywhere where we had an inflection going up or going down between Louisiana. We had the same shape happening in the other state over the course of the entire election. So when I started seeing these patterns in the reported results, I said I needed to look at this, a little deeper. Now, this is the Edison data that was reported by the New York Times. So this is what I started with, which was not the official results from the Secretary of State. So once I got past this, that this looks like what they're telling us on the news is just a show, and nobody really knows what's going on. We started looking at, we started getting through Freedom of Information Acts in the different states, something that's called the cast vote record. Now, what the cast vote record is it's a NIST standard that is produced by each of these election machines that is basically supposed to be an audit document that as each ballot is added to the total, it provides a line item for each of those ballots that says this is the distinct number of this particular ballot, ballot 1, ballot 2, and then it doesn't provide a timestamp or it doesn't provide the voter information, but it provides the votes that were on each of those individual ballots. So even though there's no timestamp, ballot 2 comes after ballot 1, and regardless of the amount of time in between it, we can use those to see how the votes stack up. So if you'd go to the next slide, please.
Next slide.
When we started looking at these cast vote records, so now this is the data that's coming in from the actual Secretary of State. So this is Maricopa County from 2020, and you see this. So on my slides, because Biden is the denominator and Trump is the numerator, whenever it goes down, that means that the bottom number's getting bigger or the Biden vote's getting bigger. And when it goes up, that means that the Trump votes are getting bigger. So you can see that the beginning of this vote, it was very, very heavy on the Democrat side. But very quickly, it like it like stops being held there at that 50%, which means a 2-to-1 Biden to Trump ratio. And all of a sudden it starts almost a linear climb. Now this is the cumulative ratio. So this is like looking at a scale and adding a marble onto each side for each individual vote as we walk up the entire election. So therefore, even though we had enough votes in the first 10-20% to keep us at a 2-to-1 Biden ratio, after that, as we added marbles to this, that scale just continued to go in a linear manner, almost to a 1-to-1 Trump to Biden tie, finishing with just a slight Biden win. Now, this becomes really surprising because when you think about that, if you've got, 500,000 votes on a scale, 500,000 marbles on a scale, those weights are pretty, steady. How would you have to keep adding the marbles to continue to keep that line going in a linear manner over towards the Trump side? So that means the votes that were added after that pre-padding of the Biden votes at the beginning were so heavily Trump that it just kept going over on the Trump side. So once we saw that this was the way that that Maricopa added up, if you go to the next slide.
Next slide, guys.
This is Colorado. This is Mesa County, which is Tina Peters County in purple. I'm sorry, yes, it should have been in purple. And then the orange and the green are Broomfield and Adams. And when you look at this, we're seeing the exact same pattern, that even though the final ratios are different, the path that the votes are walking in the cast vote record are following this same structured path. So, and all of this is 2020. So this right here just shows that there was such heavy pre-padding, and it's almost like they're holding it steady until that 20% of the vote, and then it just releases and it starts heading up towards a Trump favoritism for the next 80% of the vote. So this was yes.
I'm sending them an image that shows what it should look like in a fair election. Okay.
Yeah. So this is not something. This is saying that the first 20% of the people that came in to vote, and Colorado is mostly mail-in, so the first 20% that they counted were roughly the same ratio. That if you were adding 2 white marbles on one side and 3 black marbles on the other side of that scale, you were doing 2 and 3 and 2 and 3 to keep it that ratio for the first 20% of the votes. And being a Colorado native, you can tell me, Broomfield County, Mesa County, do they have the same number of votes, Joe?
No.
And yet
No.
we still see the same pattern, that it's held to that 20%. And once we hit the 20%, then the change in the shape factor moves.
And so that wouldn't happen unless you had some sort of controller in place inside the system. And basically,
or the ability to restructure the database into this pre-planned manner.
And so
Exactly.
we talk a little bit about, what the system's capable of doing and being able to pre-program elections to walk through it. What we found in Mesa County was that they had separate databases of information that were there, and they had the MySQL, I call it rootkits. You'd have to have something in there that triggers it that was undetectable. But it would have to be built into Dominion system. It would have to be.
They've got
part
all
of
the components
code.
in place.
Exactly.
Yeah, they got everything in place to do it. That's what we've found, and we're seeing that. So tell you what, Tina was right. Her gut was right. She saw
she's in
something
jail right
wrong.
now. She's in jail.
And she's in prison right now. And we have the evidence right here that shows she was right.
So if you're listening to this, I want you to take this and just put at POTUS if you're on X. Just at POTUS and send it to him.
All right, guys.
This is. Go ahead. Sorry.
The image we're looking for is Mesa County rig for dummies.png.
Well, let me walk through the rest of these if that's okay, and then we'll
We'll come back to it.
because I wanted to show a little bit more details here. If you could go to the next slide, please. So when we looked at the tabulator data, so the tabulators did reports of the batches like Ed showed, and I did an analysis of what each of the tabulators were doing on each day. Mm-hmm. So this was so structured that you can look and see that the average value for tabulator 2, which are the blue dots, tabulator 3 and tabulator 4 were being held to oscillate up and down around that 100% to keep the votes equal. This was only for a single day. If I were to take the time to show you every single day, they all seem to oscillate around a different set point to structure how that vote was being controlled on that day. So even though the votes were being manipulated, they were being manipulated in this batched manner, even by tabulator. And you can see tabulator 1 was doing something totally different. Even though this is mail-in votes from all over Mesa County, tabulator 1 is showing it's over a 4-to-1 ratio at that highest dot for Trump to Biden voters. And yet the majority of the votes were being held at 50-50. And guess which tabulator would be audited to see if it was counting the votes correctly? Tabulator 1. But if you go to the next slide. So moving to
go back to that really quick so people understand this. When you do audits on things, you'll pick a tabulator, but they had predetermined that that's a tabulator to pick, correct?
Right.
And tabulator 1 looks normal.
And on all, if I were to show you, October 20th, October 21st, October 22nd, all of the days where they had these tabulator reports, they all look like this with tabulator 1 or tabulator 2, 3, and 4 running the same ratio. It would be a slightly different ratio for every day, and tabulator 1 doing something totally crazy on a much higher Trump outcome.
Trump voters only like tabulator 1. Sorry.
Trump voters only like tabulator 1, even though it's mostly all mail-in and from all over the county, all different precincts.
And they're all going into the same central counting room.
Yeah. So if you go to the next slide, I didn't prepare this slide. Erin Clements did, because she looked at the Ouachita Parish in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. Now, this was the early vote. Now, if you look at this, all of these are the ratios for every single column. That's the ratio of the votes over time for each tabulator. So regardless of which tabulator you were using, you were either getting the wide spectrum of the Biden votes for the orange, and the Trump votes for the orange and the blue votes for Biden, or the narrow one with the Biden switched over top. And the tabulators didn't produce anything else in the early votes except for those values. How is that even possible?
That's an amazing picture. I really like that one.
I love it.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So so we went from Colorado to Louisiana to Arizona and the
I'd rather try to say
Indiana. That it's not one place. So if you go to the next slide, please. Now we're going to go to Maryland. So now this is Maryland for 2024. And even though Trump won in 2024, if we look at this in Maryland, this is the cast vote record for how the votes stacked up in 2 different counties. One is Caroline County, and the other one is Cecil County. Now, even though we're walking from start to finish, inflection points between these two counties are almost identical. And even though I plotted it from 0 to 100%, one of these counties has twice as many votes as the other. So we're looking at, when we get to that 80% and we start seeing that parabolic decline where it just goes from a Trump vote down to a Kamala vote, that happened in every single county at the last 80 to 20%, which is greater than the number, I think almost every county that was greater than the number of mail-in ballots. So that was manipulated votes from both election day and mail-in. And the colored lines behind that one on Caroline County is a dot for the color for each precinct that it's in. So you can see those first votes where it's being held lower. That's all shuffled from each of the precincts. And then the stair steps, which are kind of hard to see in the middle, are the election day ballots from each of the individual precincts within that county. And then the last one again has all of the precincts all mixed together. And even though we're getting an all mixed in precinct value at the first 30% and an all mixed in precinct at the last 20%, the average value of the all mixed in precincts is coming out much higher at the beginning before they had to get to their final result. And again, when we've got 50,000 votes already on that scale, how many Kamala votes are you having to put in to get that scale to go over when it's already weighted with 50,000 marbles? So it's it's a lot. So if you go to the next slide, we can see this structured event, because this is a different county. This is Garrett County, which shows again that parabolic decline at the end, pushing the Kamala votes in at the very end of the race.
How is that possible?
Cheating.
Is it possible? Is it any of this? Look, I already know the math. I already know the math to it. I already know the answer. Is there any way for this to happen naturally?
Nope.
No, especially.
I'm not been able to find.
Can I answer that one?
Yeah.
So when you look at how this is structured, I want you to pay attention to this as well. So the top slide is just looking at the shape, is that cumulative ratio over time of Garrett County. Again, you get that flat spot at the middle, and then you have it rise up when we get our election day votes, and then the very last votes coming from all the different precincts mixed together makes that parabolic decline. But when you pull out each individual precinct, the one on the left is how the votes came in over time if you just look at precinct 1. It's almost a replica of the overall county. And then the other one is precinct 16. I think I have that flipped. The one on the left is precinct 16. The one on the right is precinct 1. But if we plotted out each individual precinct would have this exact same shape that add together, spread out evenly, 0 to 100% to create the overall county. This is, it's structured. This is not how people would come in and vote in every single precinct in every single county in Maryland.
And that's why they love early voting, because they get to have all this extra time to collect all this data and make all these adjustments early on to then play the rest of it. So if we all showed up in person on election day and voted, they'd have to try to do all this then and after, or take a big guess beforehand. It'd be a lot more difficult for them. And that's why they really want everyone to vote early and by mail, because it gives them the most ability to control this system.
And if I think, do I have another couple of slides? Two more.
Slides.
Let's see what's on the next one. I forgot what I put there. Okay, I know what I was putting here. Okay, so this is Okaloosa County, Florida. So what I wanted to show here is we have the same kind of shape where we have the heavy padding at the beginning, and at 20% it releases, and it goes up towards a Trump vote. So the presidential is in purple, and then number 4 amendment was an abortion question. Now, this is a very, very red state red county up in the panhandle of Florida. And I had to plot them on two sides because you can see that the shape factors are exactly the same again. They're walking the exact same path, but the left side y-axis and the right side y-axis are very, very different. So where in the presidential race, we ended up with 240%, so 2.5 Trump votes to every Kamala vote, the vote on making abortion more available was pushed down at the end to a 1.2 to 1 vote. So basically, half of the people that voted for Trump also voted for this amendment on abortion. So it's something that you would think would be very partisan and kind of follow along. And even though it follows the exact same path, it's a much lower percentage. Now, what I want you to understand is because it's following the same path, that means the exact same percentage of voters at every single moment in time were switching their vote to vote from Trump to for abortion. So when you were looking at the people that were voting from 40 to 42%, there's the same ratio of people doing those cross ballots as when you get to 75%, because they're the same shape with this offset, which is like a weighted average defection that's consistent over time, which again is a structured outcome. And then if you go to the last slide, it's just an example. So now that we've studied all of this stuff, I wrote my own simulation to produce this. So I know Ed doesn't agree with me on this, but it's kind of cool because my math works as a simulation. His math works as a simulation. This doesn't mean that we're wrong. What this means is that if you can create the results with a mathematical simulation and no voters involved, then it's math. And it's not counting of the vote. So what I did is I developed a model that models each county as an atom, and in each shell of the atom going outward is the different ratio of Democrat to Republican voters in each precinct. And then I did a mean field theory calculation of radioactive decay, that whatever element's whatever is going to have the most energy, whichever precinct's going to have the most energy is going to emit the next vote. So
what was Eric Coomer's doctorate thesis on?
Nuclear physics.
So it was on energy decay.
Energy decay.
Yeah.
So this works pretty well to simulate the entire election from Okaloosa County, Florida, with no voters involved. It's 120 lines of code, and all I put in was what the ratio of registered Democrats to registered Republicans in each precinct, and what I wanted the final result to be, and that I had a mathematical preference for the first 20% of the votes, and just ran it. And it generated this whole plot with precinct distributions and everything that roughly match the actual election.
Yeah, that looks very familiar.
Yeah, because if you go back to the previous slide, that's the actual cast vote record for the actual election that starts at about the purple line starts at about 115% and ends at 240. And if you go to the next slide, you can see that it starts at around 115% and ends at 240. So the
Go
fact
back.
Go forward to the last slide.
There you go.
So the fact that
how would that be possible? How would that be possible if it wasn't a rigged system?
It wouldn't.
So I've heard other people from particular political science college departments and whatnot.
You mean like that stupid faggot Haldeman who didn't know what system architecture was? That guy?
I'm gonna say that I've heard many people from different schools that
I'm angry, Draza. I'm angry.
Political science, yes, you can be angry. that are political science majors that say you cannot model elections because there's too much chaos. And
You know what? We actually agree with that, but that's the problem. Is there's too much order in the elections we're seeing.
That's exactly right.
You
Okay,
should
and
see chaos.
I'll let you go now. Sorry for holding you at bay so long.
Mark, could I just show a couple of things real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
I'm loving this.
I emailed you a few pictures while she was talking. First, I wanted to go over the Mesa County picture. So I emailed you something that said Mesa County rig for dummies. Okay.
Yep, go ahead. Put it up.
Okay, so that image on the left, you're seeing the actual Mesa County election result, right? It goes from, Trump goes from 48% of the vote in red up to 65% of the vote over time, right? That's the cumulative.
Yeah.
That's the actual election. All right, now let's go to the middle. Okay?
Middle slide, guys.
Go all the way to the right, sorry. All the way to the right.
The far right.
Okay? Assuming that because their cast vote record says that 65% of the population voted for Trump, and a fair election where all the ballots are coming in randomly from around the county to one central counting room, there should be roughly a 65% chance that every ballot is voted for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So what would happen if you flipped a coin that was weighted 65 to 35 for every single ballot? That is what you would get on the far right. You wouldn't get a constantly increasing or decreasing pattern. You would get an immediate rapid convergence to 65-35 Trump to Biden within 20% of the ballots counted in Mesa. So there's about 100, there's 91 calling 100. 100,000 ballots. By the time 20,000 ballots have been counted, the result should read 65-35, and it should stay that way until the end of the election, even if there's a trillion more ballots coming. Okay? Now let's go look at the middle. Okay? The middle graph.
Middle graph. Move over a little bit. There we go.
So here we're just assuming that we have a precinct. Okay?
Stop.
The middle. Stop. So in the middle graph, this is just one precinct, okay? Now, precincts have different, Trump to Biden ratios, even a fair election, but we're just assuming this one really had a 65% performance for Trump. So we have a precinct that's 65% Trump with 1,000 votes. I now flip a weighted coin, 35-65, 1,000 times. These bands tell you what the result is going to be. They're using marketing all the time. These have been around for 200 years in the literature. They're called inverse binomial distribution bands. Okay? So the way they use them in marketing is, you make a million products a year. You're a big corporation. Roughly 10% of them are defective, and roughly 50% of customers return your defective products. You then get these confidence bands that will tell you each month how many products will be returned to you. They're used all the time, okay? So, in this confidence band, in the purple, the blue, in the very center, it's called 1 sigma. That means there's about a 63% chance that the election result will end between blue and purple for this one precinct, okay, which is like 63 to 68. Then there's a 95% chance they're going to land within 2 sigma, which is from green to red, okay, which is from 60 to 70%. Then there's a 99.99999% chance they're going to land from brown to orange, which is a 3 sigma event, okay? And each precinct, regardless of what its Trump to Biden ratio is, the expected Trump to Biden ratio just shifts the whole picture up or down. The bands don't really change until you get near the extremes of 100 and 0, okay? So each precinct should roughly, half of the precincts should be ascending for Trump over time, and half of them should be descending for Trump over time. And most of them should be almost flat, whether they're ascending or descending. There really shouldn't be that much there should be no preferred up or down motion for Trump votes over time. Unfortunately, every single precinct in Mesa County, every single precinct in Mesa County, go back to the one on the left.
Was it 91?
Every
Precincts?
single precinct has the same exact pattern as the county itself. They're all ascending in the 3 sigma band in the brown region. So here's what really happened. They flipped all the ballots. They flipped less ballots over time from Trump to Biden, okay? And they did that uniform regardless of which precinct they were from, which causes all precincts, all 91, to move in lockstep, ascending for Trump, which is in the next picture I sent you.
Next picture, guys.
Next picture says Arapahoe, all precincts. Okay, so this is Arapahoe. It's not Mesa. I'll find the Mesa one another day.
Do you know who the county clerk was for Arapahoe County?
Joanne Lopez, right?
No, Matt.
John Lopez.
Oh.
Originally.
Matt Crane.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, he's now
For 2020.
The head of the county.
Oh, he was there for 18.
Colorado
He got
County
voted
Clerk.
out. Now he's the head of the county clerk and recorders, telling everyone that the systems are safe and secure. Safest, most secure.
Yeah, they always get
in US
upgraded.
history. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Do we have that image? It says Arapahoe Alpha, all precincts.
There you go.
So this is Arapahoe County, but I get the same thing for Mesa or El Paso. And you see how all the lines are increasing by 15 to 20% over time? That's the
I love that graph.
Yeah, that's the Trump to Biden ratio. So there's 400 precincts in Arapahoe County, Colorado. All 400 increase by 15 to 20% for Trump over time. All 400 precincts. So you can't even say it's demographics anymore.
So the thing,
Right. So in order for that to happen, what would have to happen is all the citizens before the election would have to organize themselves by the people that are going to vote for Trump and the people that are going to vote for Biden, and they'd have to get in order, and they'd have to vote in order to create that picture of the results. And obviously, people didn't do that. Obviously, people voted randomly.
the thing that I like to point out when we're discussing this particular topic is it's very well known and accepted in all of our statistical analysis that you can take a sample of so much % of the population and be assured that you have the average value of that population, right? That's how come we do sampling polls and we determine what the average
It's all
value
weighted. Yeah.
for everything. This shows that depending upon which time you would take your sample of that magnitude, it fails that because if the sample was taken between 30 and 35, you would get a completely different value of the opinion of the overall population than if you took the same number of samples between 80 and 85, which means that all of our statistical analysis for polling is wrong or our elections are manipulated, one of the two.
In other words, every mathematical law, not guess, law that marketing, financing, bankers, people who do betting and marketing, and even people
DOJ.
like booking,
I mean, this is how they catch
DOJ,
tax frauds.
Everything, all the laws of mathematics cease to function as we ever knew them to function in the established literature the moment we start looking at elections.
Yes,
So
elections don't follow natural law, though. Right.
Right.
And so what the citizens need to understand is,
I want them to go back to that picture, Mesa County rigged for dummies.
Hold on, keep this one real quick. Keep this one real quick for a second. So citizens, the first 1,000 votes, let's say, the average of the first 1,000 votes, if you only looked at that first 1,000 votes that show up, should be about the same as the middle 1,000 and should be the same as the last 1,000. Because the average should be the same across the board. And what we're seeing here, if you looked at that first initial 1,000, the middle 1,000, and the last 1,000, they would all be completely different. That's what this picture is showing. And they change in a steady progression from start to finish.
In every precinct, in practically every state.
And
yes.
That which every precinct does is that which every demographic does. And that which every demographic does cannot be explained by demographics. It's rigged, folks.
Every which way.
All right, listen. I think that all of you are nuts. And this is all mirage. And you need to sit down and shut up because it is the safest, most secure election system in the world. And so you should just let them handle it.
Well, this is what we'll do. Ready, Joe? This is what we're going to do in front of the jury, because they are going to say something like that in Andy's case. And what we're going to do is we're going to get like 400,000 ballots, right? We're going to do it with a computer, though. We're just going to shuffle them. And every time we shuffle them, we're going to get flat lines instead of ascending or descending lines, okay?
All of you are going to testify at my Coomer trial, just so you know.
Oh, absolutely. I can't. I've been waiting for Coomer forever.
Yeah.
So, and what we're going to do is we're going to let the judge tell us when we can stop shuffling and when we've made our point. Because we could literally shuffle the election. When I say forever, literally until the stars burn out, not an exaggeration, you can double that, you triple that, okay? I could shuffle the election all day in Excel, and I'll never get ascending or descending lines. It will never happen.
It's going to be marvelous because this just sets it up for the lawsuits that have to come after this, which I'm really excited about.
The problem is
irrefutable.
To the previous picture, though, for dummies. Mesa County rig for dummies.
Make a comment, Joe calling us all crazy. The thing that I really appreciate about that is that anybody that does call us crazy and results to ad hominem attacks and things like that, they go back to just as you said, the simple justification with no data behind it, that it is just free and fair and you should accept that because of what I say. And they never provide any statistical data to show how it happens in the way that it actually occurs in every state, in every county.
And the ballots will never match this unless they have time to go back and try to fix all the ballots to match. If we looked at the ballots themselves, the paper ballots, compared it with this data, it comes right out of the machines, supposedly, they're not going to match. And that's why they don't want us to access the ballots. That's why they seal them, with it behind a judge, and we have to sue to get access to them. And in a lot of states now, they don't even let you have access to the cast vote records. Like Montana, the Montana Secretary of State, who, by the way, in 2020 got more votes than the presidential candidates combined. Do you believe that? The Secretary of State in Montana got more votes than the president. And they have now said, she has said, that no counties are allowed to release the cast vote records to anyone, in addition to the ballots themselves. So now the citizens can look at nothing. Just take the results, believe us, and deal with it, peasants.
Well, this is where we get to the place where we have to just be done. We could be done negotiating with the ridiculous. It's two dimensions. It's a dimension of good and a dimension of evil, and we're trying to coexist in the same environment, and you can't coexist. You can't coexist in the same environment. I believe that we're at that flashpoint right now, but this information is really, really powerful. There's so much more that I want to go through because I want to go through what Mark has too. He's got some great information that I want to make sure that I distill down. And then Draza, I want you to see what's happening in Maricopa County. We're going to take a quick potty break. Everyone get up, go to the bathroom, come back. Just for a couple minutes.
Joe has to pee.
I've been drinking like crazy, coffee and everything else, because I'm really excited. I'm really excited because I believe that truth has to come to the surface. It has to. And now that it's there, what do we do with it? Right? This is a super powerful deal. So while we're on a commercial break, everybody go to the bathroom, come back, you guys too, and then hit the @POTUS wherever you are, or @real Donald Trump if you're on True Social, and you can check it out there. But super important. We'll be right back after this.
My first time here shooting at the shooting range.
How's it going? It's also my first time, and I'm really excited.
It's also my first time here, first time shooting a gun.
My day off of work, and they were like, hey, you want to shoot some guns? That was awesome. The revolver is crazy. I will definitely come again.
Yeah, it was awesome. Really cool experience.
100% bringing my friends here another time.
I like to come shoot because I get to spend time with my family. Same for me. I love spending time with my family. It's something to do.
It's a lot of fun shooting.
When I first moved back into town, the first place I came was DCF Guns, and I signed up for a membership right away.
I got into shooting because of self-defense. I would encourage all women to be ready and to feel comfortable handling a handgun.
This was my first time ever shooting at DCF West. It felt amazing.
I shot an AR-15 and it was amazing. It was powerful and I loved it.
I'm here today as a part of a group of women that support one another in continuing to practice and refine our knowledge.
Not only self-protection of ourselves, but protection of our loved ones as well.
I have fun and I get to meet with other ladies.
You should always be prepared to defend yourself.
And I love coming to DCF Guns West to shoot. I come with my family. It's a nice, clean, friendly range. Here I feel safe. I feel like the people to my left and my right are also really cognizant of their range etiquette. That's why I come to DCF Guns West.
Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. Hey, this is just in from Fidelity. Gold could hit $4,000 an ounce as the Federal Reserve cuts rates to cushion the U.S. economy. The dollar drops and the central bank keeps adding holdings. Gold has been on a record-breaking tear over the last few years, and it doesn't look to be slowing down in the years to come. Are your savings protected with precious metals like gold and silver? Are you waiting for gold and silver to shoot even higher in price? I want you to call my gold partner, Goldco, today and learn more about what precious metals can do for you. That's 844-960-GOLD, or visit untamedgold.com. You'll get a free 2025 gold and silver kit, and you'll get info on the #1 precious metal offer in the game, where you can get up to 10% back in bonus silver just for getting started. But supplies are limited, so don't put it off. Call my gold partner, Goldco, at 844-960-GOLD, or visit untamedgold.com. That's 844-960-4653, or visit untamedgold.com.
Trick or treat? At DCF Guns, it's all treats this Halloween. We're handing out spooky good deals, king-size candy, and everything in between. Forget the chocolate, our sweets come in the form of savings you won't want to miss. Visit DCFguns.com and shop our spooky deals today. DCF Guns, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter.
All right, you guys are back. You get breaks. Everybody good? Thanks for giving me that break. I really needed it.
Good to go.
All right. So we have more, a lot more. And the a lot more is let's talk about Maricopa's proven. Let's go to image 1 on Maricopa. And this is, by the way, Ed called me, and you're on the East Coast, Draza, so you're 2 hours ahead of me. So he hit me at 10 o'clock, which means he hit you at midnight. It was
right. Right. And the goats get us up early, so that was really hard, Ed, but you know.
All right, let's put up the first Maricopa. Let's put up the first image. Put it up there. No, Maricopa. That's not Maricopa. Maricopa. There you go. Let's concentrate on the first one on the left-hand side. Blow it up. There you go. Ed, how many votes was this? Why don't you go through the theory real quick? Ed, you're muted. Ed? You're frozen and muted, Ed. Ed? All right, take this down for a second so I can see Ed. Take this down.
The answer was 1.9 million, though.
Okay, 1.9 million votes. And we're gonna hopefully have Ed rejoin us here in a second. He is frozen, and probably the feds or the bad feds, the CIA is probably infiltrating his house right now. All right, so let's the interesting part about this is it took 4.5 years to get to the cast vote records for Maricopa County.
Yeah.
Perfect
Perfect amount of time for them to then also manipulate ballots.
And so let's just go through the math real quick. Carrie Lake ran for governor in 2022, and she lost. One of the most popular candidates, arguably, in the history of ever running for that position. Katie Hobbs basically hung out in a basement, pulled the same thing as Joe Biden. And she lost.
They told her she lost.
Yeah, but she didn't.
She didn't lose. No.
Then she ran for Senate. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened in that case?
They told her she lost.
She lost. She took it to court, had all sorts of information. What did the judge say? Get out.
You lost.
And then they use that as the excuse of saying, nothing to see here. I mean, doesn't this just fly in the face of common decency? I mean, what they're basically saying is that they can lie with impunity, they can steal whatever they want, and we just have to take it.
The American people are not going to take it anymore. We're done. I'm done.
And if you don't take it, you're going to get Charlie Kirk.
Well, he didn't carry a gun, but I certainly do. So if they miss, I'm certainly going to shoot back. Sorry, not to get violent with you guys on here. I'm a semi-violent person. I'm capable of great violence. How's that? But I'm not a violent person.
You've done a good job holding it.
It's hard seeing other people suffer.
I hate it. And we got 300 plus million people suffering, including not just in this country, all over the world because of manipulated elections. But not only are people suffering from this, they're being lied to. They're being lied to by the people that they blindly trust. And that's what pisses me off the most.
Yeah. Okay. Ed, here's the thing. So while you're eating, I need you to go through Maricopa County, 1.9 million votes. Put up the picture, please. Focus on the left. There you go. Tell me what I'm looking at, Ed. You're muted. Is he frozen again?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you. Yes.
Okay. It's going to take me a moment to explain what the green line is, okay? Because the green line is a thing that's actually being rigged with the red line. Let's go look at the picture on the right real quick, which is red and blue, which is more familiar from the earlier presentations.
Move it to the right, please. There we go.
So this is Maricopa 2020. Again, there was 1.9 million mail-in ballots cast. Okay, I'm only looking at the mail-in again. A 3% window would have been way too large. That would have been 57,000 ballots like I did for Nevada. So I went to a 1.5% window, which is 28%, 28,000 ballots cast. That's 1.5% of 2 million, okay? And again, I split the cast vote record. I took every chunk of 28,000 ballots, and I looked at the rate of change between Trump voter stance and Biden voter stance on the tax hike proposition in Maricopa. Okay? As you can see, the rates of change are, again, in lockstep parallel motion for 2 million, 1.9, 2 million consecutive ballots. This is a completely synthetically engineered election. Okay?
All right,
now let's go look at that.
Explain to what this means in this, right? Because This is the tax people. You have too much information. People don't have the same information. So describe to me what the red and the blue are, and describe with me what you mean by tax proposition split by presidential choice. Talk to me like I'm a third grader.
So
right?
I forget the name of the proposition, but they had some ballot proposition that was to raise taxes by a lot on people making $250,000 a year or more, and to give it strictly to teachers. That was the tax proposition. Okay?
Okay.
So what I do is in every block of 28,000 ballots, I split it into Trump voters and Biden voters. That's red and blue.
Okay. So these
And
are people that voted for President Trump and voted for Biden.
Yes. Now, on average, 75 to 80% of Trump voters were opposed to this. And on average, 15 to 20% of Democrats were opposed to this. So the difference between them is massive. Okay? So the red and blue line, the reason they're on top of each other is because we're looking at the rate of change. In math, that's called the first derivative. How much do they change their stance on this proposition from each block of 28,000 ballots to the next? And as you can see, red and blue are doing the same thing at the same time at every moment during the election, give or take.
Well, there's a couple places that don't. At the very end, they change a little bit. But for the most part, everything in the middle that kind of sets it up is the same.
I'm going to give you something real fast since Joe's smart and he noticed that. If you notice further, Joe, it's at 90%. And at 90%, they switch from following to going exactly
out of phase. They're out of phase.
100% out of phase. And we see that almost every single one of these races that are structured in this manner as well.
Across the country. Purely a coincidence.
But getting Maricopa, getting these cast vote records is these are the things that getting the Maricopa was a really big deal to get these records because
it took half a decade for Roger Fuller to get this cast vote record legally.
So what we're looking at, it's not the voters. This is the data that the county is providing that we're analyzing. Obviously, the voters aren't doing this, but the data is showing it, which means we cannot trust the data.
All right, let's look at red and green.
Okay, move over to the left.
On the left. There is no way we can talk about that until we go to the next picture. So can you go to that 4-quadrant diagram?
Okay, go to the next picture if you would. If we can go to the next Maricopa picture. Gotcha. By the way, this is really fun for me. I'm like beaming inside, just so you know. I'm like,
well, the reason why this is great for Joe's case is because Eric Coomer was still employed for Dominion in 2020, and now I have lockstep parallel motion for 2 million consecutive ballots in 2020. So
that aligns with has an R squared. So I don't have all of the ballots yet for Maricopa County. Ed's going to send it to me. So as soon as I have the cast vote records, I can run it through my system and say, okay, what's the output and what's the R coefficient for this related to Coomer's thesis. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah, this graphic, this slide is really important here. This is great.
Yeah, but this is something that if you guys were sort of zoned out, you got to really pay attention for if you're in the audience.
Pay attention, everyone, right now.
It's not hard, but it is tedious, okay? There's a difference. So you just have to pay attention to detail.
Okay.
So we have 4 quadrants of a square, and these are the 4 ways I can divide the votes in each batch of 28,000 ballots, okay? So in the Northwest, you see the dark red quadrant, and those are the number of ballots voted for Trump and against the tax hike proposition, okay? In the Northeast, that's the T category. That's the number of ballots voted for Biden and against the tax hike. So overall, the north side of the diagram is those who voted against the tax hike, regardless of how they voted for president. Okay? In the South...
We like those people.
Yes. In the Southeast, okay, we see people, that's you in pink, as people who voted for Trump but in favor of the tax hike. Okay? And then we finally have V in the Southwest in light blue, and that's people who voted for Biden and in favor of the tax hike. Okay? So that's 4 numbers, and there's no way a ballot can be in 2 or more quadrants at the same time. It's strictly what we call binary. You either voted for Trump or you voted for Biden. So you're either in a red square or a blue square. And then you either voted for or against the tax hike, which tells you which color, dark or light, of red or blue that you're in. There's no overlap. Okay, that's very important. Okay.
I'd be an S.
So again, the north side is those who voted against the tax hike. The south side is those who voted in favor of the tax hike. The red diagonal is those who voted for Trump regardless of how they voted for the tax hike. And the blue diagonal is people who voted for Biden regardless of how they voted on the tax hike. So we have comprehensible names for the pairing of S and T. It's those that are against. U and V, those that are in favor of a tax hike. S and U, those who voted for Trump. And T and V, those who voted for Biden. Since those ratios can have easy names and categories when you combine them, they don't dare rig those ratios, because they know everybody's going to look at one of those 4 ratios I just named. What they do instead is they rig the west side of the diagram versus the east side of the diagram. So they take S and V, which is Trump no and Biden yes. And then they rig that against the east side, which is Trump yes and Biden no.
And then what they're doing is they're flipping the votes. That's all they're doing. They're changing it from a yes vote to a no vote and a no vote to a yes vote. That's how they're doing it. And which ones they flip are according to this.
Yes.
All right. Who remembers what happened in Maricopa County when they asked for the files? No. This is
ballot
for
images.
No, they asked for the internet logs. Remember what they said?
Oh, the fire. We're talking about the firewall configurations, or
no, the actual
access logs.
Access logs. They said no, we're not going to give it to you. They never gave it to them ever. Right?
I remember many stories that they couldn't give the routers. They couldn't give main routers because it was shared with police data. I mean, like crazy stories.
It's crazy. It's not only crazy, it's like, no, time drift,
could have
baby, time
happened
drift.
without a connection. It doesn't need a connection to do this.
Oh, I know.
It certainly helps them be more dynamic if they can connect in real time, but this thing can run on its own as well. And in probably most cases it does.
Except in 2020 it could, because they could fix the output of mail-in ballots to whatever they want. There was no eyes on them. Mm-hmm. But in 2022 and 2024, depending on what they predict Democrats to do, then if it goes the other way and their polls are wrong, then Trump wins, right?
Yep. And
So they do need the internet connection if it gets too wild and they're trying to stay inside the confines of what they think will be an acceptable outcome for the election.
Or they just need to change the results at the end in the cital clarity stage, and then tell us, don't worry, little peasants, those are unofficial results, just settle down. And while they go in and get their hands on the systems to tweak the rest of the data to match the results they fed us afterward.
Exactly.
This is why I love lockstep parallel motion, because it tells us the election is rigged regardless of who, what, when, why, and how. I don't care about any of that, to be honest with you guys, as everybody knows.
It's the county's data.
Personally.
It's their data.
That says it's rigged. If you want to know who did it, how they did it, you can arrest and indict them. All right, so this diagram of west versus east, okay? So there's a ratio that I can't name because the ratio of the west side to the east side is the ratio of 2 things that don't have names themselves, of namelessness to namelessness. So I call it the demonic ratio, okay? Lambda is the demonic ratio. What is that ratio? It's the percentage of all ballots cast that exist on the west side of the diagram.
what does that ratio control? Well, actually, this is how you create a fake partisan divide on a ballot proposition. If you want Republicans to be against something and you want Democrats to be in favor of something, then you put as many ballots as you can on the west side, which is dark red, Trump no, and light blue, Biden yes. If you want it the other way, but let's say it was a pro-life amendment, okay, then you would put as many ballots as you could on the east side, which is Trump yes for pro-life and Biden no, okay? Now, whether the election is rigged or not, Lambda always reflects the natural partisan divide, even in a fair election. But if you wanted to exaggerate it to some insane amount, you would start moving as many ballots as you could to either the west or the east side of the diagram. So Lambda is the demonic ratio because it has no name. It's the ratio of namelessness to formlessness, of east to west. But the way it functions in practice is actually is comprehensible, and it's that which mediates the partisan divide on a ballot proposition. Okay, so that's what Lambda is. It's what percentage of the ballots exist in either the red or the light blue square combined on the west side. Now let's go back to the previous image for Maricopa. Now you know what Lambda is. So that green line is the west side percentage Lambda. It's that ratio. And what you see is that it's
you're going to have to slow down because people online are saying, I don't understand the graph. So let's act as if I am...
Mark or Draza, take it away. That means I failed.
That's not
so here. The ratios are a comparison of one thing to another. So what is the ratio of? In the previous image.
Yes, you have to go back to the previous picture then.
Previous image.
It's the ratio of the west side to the east side. That's the only way I know how to explain it. Can somebody else do it?
He put the formula there in the light blue, where it's S and V, which are the red and the light blue, divided by the sum of everybody all together.
Right.
Okay.
So it's how heavy the west side is compared to the right side.
Yes.
So you'll have a higher value of Lambda. Right. If you have more votes on the west side, you'll get a higher value. If you have less votes, it'll be a smaller value.
Okay, now go back to the other model. Or the other, yeah, there you go. Now explain that in relation to what we just saw.
Okay, so the average value of Lambda was about 80% in this election, but here again, we're just looking at how it changed over time, the rate of change.
Okay.
And this is the actual rig. Okay, they set Lambda, the west side ratio, the west side share, equal to red, which is the percentage of Trump voters opposed to the tax hike, which is S over S plus U. Okay, they literally just set them equal to each other. Not just in the rate of change, but even in the graph itself, which I wish I had there.
And so why do they do that? Explain why they do that.
That collapses two independent variables into one variable, which makes everything even easier to rig.
It's to make it easier to rig is why they do that. Exactly.
And then that picture that shows up, I don't know if I sent it to him, called 20 Laws of 40 Isometries, which I'll just send now. And basically, in order to know that there's 9 distinct ratios that come from that 4-quadrant diagram, and you have to know 3 of them before you know the other 6. But in a rigged election, if you turn 2 of the 9 ratios into only 1, well, now I need less information that's required to solve for the remaining ratios because 2 of the ratios have been set equal to each other. So in this election, they set red equal to green. So it's like you have a box, right? The volume of a box is length times width times height. Okay? However, let's say the box is what we call a rectangular prism. It has a square base. It's always 2 feet by 2 feet. Well, then it's no longer length times width times height. It's just 2 times itself, which is 4 square feet, times the height of the box. So they're crushing dimensions out of it that should be random in a fair election.
If they could just make up the results, if we weren't going to look at anything, they would just make up the results and that'd be done. They'd make up everything about it. But because they need to make it believable, they have some constraints that they have to abide by to still pull off the illusion that if someone were to look at the results, that it would look normal to them. So because of that, they squeeze in one area and the data kind of pops out in a different area. We see the evidence of it somewhere else. So that's what he's talking about when he's talking about 20 laws and 40 isometries. It's a relationship that you have to maintain geometrically in order to nudge it in one place. You have to make up for it in another, essentially.
Give them the balloon burst analogy.
So how I look at it is, you remember when you're a kid, you get the little balloons that they make animals out of, right? They make them into animals, right? So if you grab that balloon and you squeeze the leg of one of those balloon animals, that air's got to go somewhere else. It doesn't just disappear. So that air sometimes goes into the arm, and then the arm blows up, or it goes into the head or the neck. And that's what they're doing here, is they're pushing in one area of the data, but they can't change the amount of air that's in the balloon, so it goes to another place. And that's what we're seeing, is it goes into a very weird place. We're seeing like the arm bulge in the data, essentially.
And then because they're not smart enough to do this rig correctly, they end up leaving these traces like lockstep motion between Trump and Biden voters in 2020 for 2 million ballots, or Trump and Kamala voters in 2024. And it's not like they could have avoided making that mistake, Joe. Okay? If you're going to uniformly flip, if you're going to take all ballots and apply a county-wide flip function from no to yes on a ballot proposition, regardless of how people voted for president and regardless of which congressional district they live in, it is mathematically forcing that lockstep parallel motion will emerge in the cast vote record. There's no way to avoid that. There's no,
yeah,
right,
and
there's
lockstep
no
parallel motion is a fancy way to say synchronized election results. So when you see these graphs and you see the lines following each other on top of each other, that's a synchronization, especially between different precincts or between counties. When you see similarities among that is synchronization, and synchronization is not normal. That's how we know this is all fake data.
It's the perfect synthetic diamond with no flaws, irregularity. We actually want irregularity with no flaws, irregularity, or messiness. It's the most perfectly ordered creation known to man.
Let me go back to that and see if I can give a little better understanding. If you could put that chart back up that shows the red and green line. So many. Okay. So basically what this is saying, hopefully this is a little simpler. We'll see. That since the green line is the sum of the Trump no and Biden yes, that as the Trump voters change, in order for that ratio to stay the same, in order for the green to stay the same, whatever percentage the Trump yes votes change, the Biden no votes have to change by the same proportional amount, or you won't keep the same ratio. Because if you had, let's say, five of the Trump yes votes or Trump no votes and 1 of the Biden votes, when you get to 10 of the Trump no votes, you have to have 2 of the Biden votes to keep that ratio the same. So if you find a way to structure the ballots over time, so as the Trump votes change, you inject or flip votes to keep that ratio the same, like Ed's showing here, then you're guaranteed that that ratio will be the ratio that you're targeting at the end, but you're doing it as you go along without having to do a big flip at the end to hit the final ratio.
Again, I will ask you the question, is it possible that this is naturally occurring?
No.
Not a chance. And that's a great explanation, Draza.
Thank you.
So let's
Draza, that's why I had to invite you on tonight.
But let's say this.
I'll just talk about aliens and UFOs at some point, and people are like, "What does that have to do with election fraud?" It's like, well, hold on. I'm not saying it's aliens, man, but it's aliens, you know. Okay, thank you, Draza.
So we've now looked at Maricopa County. We've looked at the information from Nevada. We've looked at Draza, what you broke down across 2 elections, 2020 and 2024, right? What part of this would lead the public to believe that a transfer of this systems that were already, by the way, implemented with ES&S and Smartmatic, and they all have the same substructure. They all share people. They leave different places. They pass over code. You had Lord Moloch Brown that worked with ES&S, took it over when Dominion was sold or Sequoia was sold. Smartmatic retained all the intellectual property that was built with Coomer. So there's a lot of things that happened. Now we have Liberty Vote that bought Dominion Voting Systems, same system, but they renamed No Inc. to Liberty Vote to make it sound like the Affordable Care Act. We're gonna make it affordable for America. We're gonna make liberty inside of your vote.
Yeah, now it's liberty. So it's fine, Joe. Everything's fine.
Square it for me. I'm trying.
They are liberating you from having to make choices in the future. They're going to make all the choices for you.
They've already been doing it. Yeah. They had full domination. Now they're moving to liberty of choice. Yes.
How is it that we wake up every day, we can see it clearly, and we're having this conversation about election systems, and we haven't gotten rid of the machines and the mail-in ballots? This is just strictly math. But you have people like Halderman that run around saying, I'm an expert, I can hack the computer with a ballpoint pen, and we're having serious conversations about the fact that these election systems and mail-in ballots are staying. Why? How?
Is Halderman smart enough to understand this? I mean, I know an average citizen can understand this, but I'm wondering if Halderman can also understand it.
I'll put it out there right now, Halderman. You can come on and dispute everything that we've said. Everything. Come
let's
on.
Get Halderman
Come on. Let's go, Halderman.
Harry Hursty. Alex Halderman. Come on let's talk it.
Are you guys open for that? We can talk about how the structure.
Open.
I've got all the manuals.
Draza, I don't know about Mark, but me, Draza, and Roger are all under penalty of perjury USC 18 code in multiple court cases on lockstep motion.
And more.
And more. And more.
Yep.
That are still ongoing. These cases are still going. They don't know what to do with them.
So
we got them.
When you look at things that we see in the election system, like we see the accusations of people bringing in stacks of votes and stuffing the mail-in ballots. How do they know what votes need to be on those ballots? I mean, that's something
modeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you don't have this pre-planned structure that is guaranteed to work every single time, you would not know how to structure the votes on the mail-in ballots to justify the results of the final election.
Well, absolutely. And what I would do if I was a bad guy is I would create a mail-in ballot tracking system, and I would use that tracking system to watch people as they mail their ballots in to track who has mailed a ballot in. I'd have a profile on every American citizen so I know exactly how they're going to vote. And then I would use the electronic poll books to monitor who shows up to vote. So by knowing who has mailed in a vote and who has shown up to vote, I know who has voted. And if I have a profile on those people, I could build an election results model without even having to look at their ballots now, because I can estimate what their ballots are. So I could actually estimate what the results of the election are with pretty high likelihood, especially having access to every bit of data on these citizens now. If we have far more data than we had before, you can get everything on anyone. And so if you have all that, you can build a very accurate model to know what the results of the election are. If you know what they are and you know what they want them to be, it's a simple subtraction and you know exactly what to stuff. And because they're able to model all this and pull all this data in real time, they know exactly where to stuff different ballots in as well. Which precincts, how much in what precinct, what counties, what states. They've got full control of the whole thing because they have built a system. It's an engineered system to create an illusion of an election. Simple as that. And every single thing that every expert has found in the past 5 years converges to exactly that.
In other words, guys, if this was just bad humans, like humans stuffing ballots manually, haphazardly, you would never see patterns like this. It has to be software driven.
And this is one of the things that I've learned along the way. A lot of people that have done PhD work and statistical analysis of ballot stuffing events where it was humans stuffing the ballots and such. They've developed these markers that indicate where the ballots have been modified. The problem is that when you see these same patterns over and over again, what that's ensuring is that everybody is in the middle of the bell curve, because everybody is now falling on top of each other, so nobody's an outlier. When you deal with science and math, when everybody is right on top of each other and there are no outliers, that is as problematic as when you see the outliers.
All right, so I want to point something out real quick. This came in as a question. Can you please tell people why it's not good, even if the owner of Liberty Vote is supposedly decommissioning Dominion machines? David told me why, but you have the platform to spread the word. So why is it that even if they decommission the Dominion machines, why is it that this could still perpetually continue?
One word answer. Ready? Well, one sentence. Lockstep parallel motion has not yet been adjudicated in a court of law. Until that's made a fact in a court of law officially, and it's ruled to be election fraud, and it's made mainstream news across the United States, I do not trust any voting machines in this company.
We have to go back to hand-counted paper ballots, period. Hand-count paper ballots at the precinct on election day, and we count those ballots where they are cast. Counted where cast immediately when the polls close. We, the people, get the results. We don't need to use any of these computerized systems because the entirety of this ecosystem, this electronic ecosystem, was built to manipulate elections. It was built to hide the manipulation of the elections. So to save our country, it's real simple. Disconnect all the machines. We go back to county-controlled voter registration on paper with wet signatures. We go back, we vote in the precinct right there with a paper poll book. Again, a wet signature that's compared with the voter registration card. We fill out a ballot, we drop it in a box. When the polls close, we open the box, we count our ballots, and we produce precinct-level results for everyone and make the whole thing transparent. That's how we save this country.
Oh, so, and with exit polling, because right now Connell Reynolds is being prosecuted for doing exit polling.
Which you should be able
to have to have exit polling, because that's the exit polling. People don't know what it is. It's what we, the people, use as a baseline to compare against the results we're told that coming out of our elections. And if we're out there, and if someone doesn't know what exit polling is, you stand outside a polling center and you ask people how they voted, and you collect that data. And then you can look up the ratios of that result from your exit polling, compare it to what they tell us the results are. And if they're the same, we probably have accurate elections. But if they differ, it would be an indicator that we don't have accurate elections. The election system didn't accurately reflect the will of the people.
When we say differ, we're not talking about a 5% discrepancy per precinct. We're saying everybody exit polled and they got 80% Trump but for some reason, or let's say they got X% Trump, but the exit in the exit polls, but the cast vote record after we saw the results for the precinct, they were all 25% less, X minus 25 for each precinct against the exit poll.
Well, and that's why they're coming against and that's why they're coming after Conrad right now, because exit polling is a big indicator for us, we the people, to see if our results are accurate. And so the reason they want everyone voting by mail and voting early outside these election offices, polling centers, is because they don't want us to exit poll. They don't want us to have that data of our own to be able to compare what the results were fed. And so what they're doing to Conrad right now is exactly what they did to Tina. They're trying to keep him quiet and punish him for exit polling, just like they tried to punish Tina for daring to look inside these black boxes.
And here's the thing, whether it's election day voting, early voting, or mail-in voting, they all go to the same central counting center. So they can rig all three, and they have rigged all three, okay, especially in Nevada. So the only reason why they want mail-in and early voting so much over everything else, and they make election day voting so hard to do, is for the exact same reason Mark just said. They don't want us to do exit polls.
Mark, can you go through your hand count paper ballot, what you've been going around the country? Can you give us like a 5-minute synopsis of that specifically?
Sure. So what I'm running, I kind of founded the Hand Count Roadshow, which is no fancy organization or anything. It's literally just me driving around in a truck and a trailer going county to county, explaining this type of stuff to the citizens on the ground, and why the solution for this huge mess we have is really, really simple. And if you go to handcountroadshow.org, if anyone wants to just see the result. A lot of people ask, well, what's the solution? Just tell us what the solution is. So I finally put it together. So if you go to handcountroadshow.org, you click on that red button. It says Progressive Election Platform. You click on that. It just gives you a simple 1-pager, 2-pager, exactly what we need to do, how we handle voter registration, how we handle absentee ballots, how we handle election day. It's that red one, Progressive Election Platform on the right. And that's the result. And then what I'm trying to help people do in addition to that is get organized and figure out how we actually solve this problem. And one of the solutions in this list, the Progressive Election Platform, and yes, I stole their language, is hand-counted paper ballots at the precinct. And if you think about the future of this country, if we are a free nation at some point again, which we're going to be, because we the people are not going to let this nation fall, what does that look like? How do elections look in the future? Well, the citizens are going to be hand counting their ballots. There will be no more computerized tabulation. There's not going to be this hidden electronic layer that actually controls our elections. The whole thing is going to be simple and transparent. All we're doing is we're making sure eligible voters put dots on pieces of paper, then we're going to count the dots on the paper, and whoever has the most dots wins. That's the entire scope for our elections. So if we're going to be a free nation, and that means we're going to be hand counting our ballots, there is no time to start but now. And that's what I'm trying to encourage people to do. Just grow what I call the hand count army. Grow groups larger and larger and larger of citizens that know how to count dots on a piece of paper and add the dots up and get the totals. It's actually not that complicated. And that's what I'm going around training in addition to everything else that I'm doing. And if you go to on the menu, get educated, hit that menu item up top for me if you can. And then that first option, accountable hand count tabulation method right there. So if you want to see what a hand count process looks like, that's actually really fast, very simple, totally transparent, and also includes additional layers of transparency. The whole thing is hand counted by the citizens right there. But a lot of times I hear, I don't trust my neighbor counting my vote. And I've heard election officials say, I don't trust the citizens to count their own votes, which is ridiculous because the citizens are the ones that are supposed to be able to trust their election officials, not the other way around. But what I want to do is correct those problems, address that. So I added a scanner, just a dumb scanner that takes a picture of the page and puts it on a PDF at the very beginning of the process. You take the ballots out of the box, you run them through a scanner to take a picture of each page. Then on the same table, they're hand counted tabulated by the citizens right there on the table, the citizens that are there under another camera, under a video camera. So at the end of this, not only do we have the citizens hand counting their paper ballots, all the choices on them, but we also have additional layers of transparency with the scanned ballot images and the video of the entire process. And then we take that and put that all out on the county website. So any citizen that couldn't be there physically to be part of that physical process of counting the ballots can download the ballot images or watch the video at the same time, which makes it really difficult for anyone to manipulate, as an additional layer of transparency to have earned trust in their elections rather than this BS mandated trust that they keep trying to ram down our throats. So watch the video, and you can, if you scroll down, you'll see you can actually sign up to enlist in the hand count army. Right there, I've got the whole process there, and if you scroll down a little bit
Mark,
further,
couldn't
you'll see
we
there's
pay
ballots and tally sheets.
Couldn't we pay everyone $100 an hour to run elections for those 3 weeks?
Absolutely.
And you
even,
would
even
still
if we
save
paid the same
80%.
amount, even if we paid the same amount that it cost with the electronic voting machines and this whole infrastructure, think about that. Where's that money going to go? That money is going to stay in the county. It's going to go right back to the citizens whose pockets it came out of. And they're going to spend that money where? In that county. They're going to spend that money 10 times over in that county, in fact. So even if it costs the same amount, the return would still be a 10x return for the citizens. That's how simple this is.
$491 an hour was what you would have to pay the average employee to hand count, with an average precinct size of 3,100 and one that bloated to as many as 12,000. If you had a precinct with 12,000 people and you had an average of actually,
you have to have precincts of 1,500 or less. It's got to be 1,500 or less, because you have to be able to hand tabulate it in a 4-hour period. If you have your precinct size larger than that, in order to hand count within a 4-hour period, you have to have so many people in the room that now you run out of physical space to do it. So 1,500 or less is what we need to make our precincts. We take that big problem and we reduce it to a very small little chunks.
Move the precincts to high schools.
Parallel processing.
Parallel processing is the same concept, and a lot of people. This is a clerk in Idaho, who called me a grifter driving around, total lying clerk. But she said, well, we have so many people in this county. There's no way we could possibly hand count the ballots. It would take too long. So apparently she's either a liar or she's got a brain about this big, because of course what you do is you reduce it to 1,500 or less voters per precinct. Everyone starts tabulating at the same time as soon as the polls close. So it doesn't matter the size of the the county. You just have more precincts. But if everyone starts at the same time, they'll all finish at about the same time within reasonable amount. And we finish on election night. Results on election night that are transparent and auditable and verifiable by every American citizen. Can you imagine that?
It would be a drastic improvement. Draza, you worked for I don't want to dox you for working for them. Do you want to tell someone where you actually worked before? If you don't, it's okay.
I think I've told it enough. I was an engineer at Sandia National Labs for a short period of time.
Okay, so you're really not that smart, obviously.
No.
Yeah. I say that because you have guys like Alex Halderman that run around, and he testified for a day and a half in the Mike Lindell trial, and they asked him specific questions that you would have to know if you understood how the systems work, how the machines work, and he couldn't answer the questions.
That's odd.
Paper Tiger?
Let's get him on the show.
Alex Halderman, you have been invited to come on the show. We will even be nice to you. And I know that you said that you don't like me, and I actually don't like you either. But I'll still be respectful of you, and we'll have you on, and we will go through and have a lively debate. And you can tell us how smart you are, and that you're a professor at Michigan, and all that fun stuff. And then we want you to hear all about this, and you tell us how it's possible. That's fair, right? We should just have, or Chris Krebs, you want to come on too? Oh yeah, you're too busy almost getting put in a military tribunal. How about guys at CISA? How about Coomer? Coomer, come on, buddy. Come on down. You're the next contestant on It's not going to work out for you.
I'd have him come in remotely though, because if he physically drives there, he might hit your building.
He might be drunk too. That might actually happen. So speaking of that, and I don't want you guys to have an opinion of this, but Eric Coomer in 2000, so I've been digging in pretty deep on all things Eric Coomer, and he actually turned over a rock that I wasn't looking at. So then that rock produced a bunch of stuff for me, and I was like, wow, this is like a treasure trove of information. How many of you could nearly commit lose your license 4 separate times for DUIs? 4 times. Rando building, had a lawyer negotiate him out of a DUI. 2009, DUI, gets out of it. They basically wipe it away. Go back to 2004, again, committed a alcohol-related crime involving a car, DUI, 2 times. That's 4. How many of you would get out of 4 DUIs?
0. Because he's part of the protected class.
You mean the
and
CIA?
The protected class. This is the infrastructure they've created that put on these election pageants. And those people are all protected by the system because that's their precious. Their election system that they've spent decades building to fool all the citizens in this country, that's their baby. That's all they care about. And they love that more than they hate Trump. That's why they let Trump win. They could have just stopped counting in the middle of the night. They could have pulled another 2020, but they didn't because they knew the gig would have been up. Every citizen, even the 5 people that voted for Kamala, would have realized the thing was rigged. So to try to cover their butts, they said, let's just deal with Trump. We'll distract everyone, let them high five and party on election night. Don't make a big deal out of it while we steal all the down ballots, and let's try to retain control of the House and the Senate. And they weren't able to do that, luckily, because I think we had a lot of really smart election day in-person voters that made it very difficult for them to pull it off again. But I'll tell you what, they are smart. They are brilliant. They've been doing this for decades. They are not going to let 26 happen. They are going to take 26 unless we counter and get smart. We have to. They're coming hard.
Draza?
Well, one of the things that I'd like to point out, and this is just analysis again. I really hate that we are so divided by the news media. And one of the things that happens is that you're just structured with so much hatred and disrespect with all of the stories that come out that are twisted on both sides, that it keeps everybody voting in their lanes. Because if you're trying to rig an election and you have everybody profiled, the worst thing that could happen is for your Democratic voters to become disenfranchised with their party and come in and vote independent or Republican, because that's a 2-for-1 hit. It doesn't matter as much what the Republicans are doing, but if the Democrats come in and they vote, that's a loss of 1 that you're counting on and a gain of 1 on the other side that they weren't counting on. So I truly think that that's part of what is being done to have so much division, and rather than having honest ethical topics, issues, conversations, and just throw out the ad hominem insults and accusations and twist everything that everyone's trying to do on both sides into people just being evil to each other. And I don't think that that's what 90% of the people in the United States are like, or higher than that. And that's very disheartening to watch that play into the overall election results as well.
Yeah, their manipulation works better when we're divided, because their modeling works better when Democrats vote Democrat and Republicans vote Republican. Then their models are more accurate. And so, absolutely, I totally agree.
Ed?
Ed's concentrating very hard.
I think he froze. Did we lose Ed? Can you turn your video back on, Ed, and start talking to us? He might have ran to the bathroom.
He said he'll be back.
Okay, so I want to clear up maybe it's not a problem. Let's just work this problem. If we rolled back the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act of 2012 that was put in place that allows for the media the government to lie to its people, and we put restraints on the technocracy that's been built that allows for them to allow free speech. I believe in unfettered free speech, but let the public then dictate somebody's free speech, because there should be consequences to bad speech. There should be, right? I mean, you should lose your job if you're a really bad person. Like if you're a
Take
pedophile.
accountability for what you say, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So,
you can be able to say what you want, but you have to accept the accountability, the
Right. consequences
for what you say.
Freedom of speech and freedom of consequences for what you say are not equal.
That's correct.
So as we look at that, does that start to normalize things? Do we, we talked about the NGOs that are out there and, Act Blue and some of the things we're getting with donations. Draza, you brought this up, is that they're basically laundering money, much of it from the American people, into organizations that then do these no-show jobs and create entire, you could become a lifelong protester, right? Make a good living.
There are lifelong protesters. They're professionals. That's what they do. They're professional activists.
So we have a serious problem, because if we look at our elections over the last 20 years, imagine how many judges were put in positions of trust and authority who were just activists because of stolen elections. Imagine how many laws have been passed, how much tax has been taken from the American people, how much legislation has gotten across the finish line to steal our rights, and how they've been able to then infiltrate education systems and the walled gardens of our society, whether it's education, opportunities, the trades, all by taking away opportunity from individual people. And I'm not just talking about white people. They've made the black community a ghetto that is worse than it's ever was 60 years ago.
And I don't. Maybe I'm naive, but I don't truly think that it's a race thing. I think that it's a income thing.
I do too.
And because it has nothing to do with skin color. It has to do with people that don't have the foresight or the opportunities to break out of the poverty environments that they grow up in, the lifestyles that they learn to live in that environment.
It's a division tactic. It's a manufactured division tactic. It's not just race. They do it with sex. They do it with religion. They do it with sexual preference. Every which way they can possibly divide the people, they do it because it's easier to conquer a divided populace. All part of the plan. But it all comes back to our elections. That's the hill we're going to have to die on. That's it. If we don't have control of our elections, the mechanism that they use to infect every aspect of our society will never go away. That citizens have to reclaim their elections, period. Everything else we can fix once we've got that.
All right. Well, we came to the very end of this. I thought it was going to go a lot longer, but I want to thank you guys for coming on. And I thank you in advance for testifying at the Coomer trial and me putting you on the expert list, because you will be on it. It's been a long 5 years, so I'd like you to, before we close, just tell people what the last 5 years has been like. And Draza, we'll start with you, ladies always first. You've been more gracious, and Mark, I'll talk about you when you get a chance to talk as well, but you've been more gracious. And obviously, I told you that I'm really angry, but I'm not angry to the point where I feel more at peace than I ever have. But the last 5 years it's been difficult. So just give everybody an idea of what's going on. Like how has this kind of culminated over the last 5 years for you?
So I don't know how it happened, but when I started doing the analysis and showing results that looked like it was like things were manipulated, I received calls from people from all over the country, of people that are actually doing the work, and they wanted something tangible to take and discuss, that they know their community and they know the results don't match, but they don't have any they don't have anything to put in front of someone. And so when people would contact me and ask if they got me the data, then I volunteered to do the analysis and show the manipulation. And it's been a lot of work. There's been a lot of people that have wanted that sort of tool to be able to go and show it. The problem is, and I think this is part of the issue with what we have, is that the math needed to understand some of the manipulation is at a level that exceeds the average high school education when you're looking at what's going on to understand the math. And that makes it very difficult because there are so many people that have so many skills that I don't have, but I understand the math. So when I give it to these people that are so much better at, doing the grassroots organization and doing the, going and presenting themselves at the in-person events, when they show it, the people, even good people that are in a place where they could actually do something about it, they don't understand the manipulation at the same level. And that becomes very difficult because when you start talking about the math, like when Ed started talking about the math and the calculations, people don't understand the significance of it and how it cannot be the way that that random voting and any kind of random process would occur. And so taking a lot of time to volunteer for people all over the country like that has been a lot of work, a lot of time, but I'm so excited with all the people that have been all over the nation that have taken that and have continued and just been like dogs with bones and getting us to the point that we're at now, where I feel that Overton window has really shifted and people are finally understanding that we really are in a situation where the elections are being.
Absolutely. Draza, thank you very much. Very much. Mark, you have literally called me and said, Joe, softer, gentler Joe today, please. I like to fire
Guilty,
people
maybe.
up. But also, you've also called me and said, all right, I'm mad as hell. Go for it, Joe. We need you to scream and yell. Go do Joe. So I appreciate that. How's the last 5 years treated you?
Oh, it's been rough. I never expected in a million years, this was not in my plan. My plan was to, retire at a fairly young age. Like I wanted to retire by 50. I wanted to give back. I wanted to help people start businesses and run businesses and be self-sufficient like I have done my whole life. And then all of a sudden, COVID, 2020 election, God put me in all these places. I did not do this on my own. These were opportunities, doors that God opened clearly. And I had to ask a couple times, is this really happening? Am I supposed to walk through this door? And I've been told every single time, keep walking through the door. I've seen the inside of this. Remember, I got involved. I was out in DC immediately after the 2020 election, watching the inside of this whole machine that was working, that the aftermath of the 2020 coup between the week after the election and all the way up to January 20th. I was right out there seeing everything, including the Hunter Biden laptop, et cetera. And I realized I was seeing stuff that most American citizens were not seeing and couldn't see and were being deprived of information. And I was put in that spot to see it for a reason. And then I ended up starting to travel around the country as people were calling me, asking me for guidance. They wanted to know what was going on. They want to understand it. They want to know how this is happening to them. They needed someone that could articulate it in a way that they could understand it. And I've had to do that. I've had to articulate complex things to people that don't understand the complex things because I'm an IT guy. I'm the guy that explains how the computers work to people. I've been doing it for 40 years. So I ended up in a position where I had to articulate this complex method of engineering elections to people so they could understand why they're seeing what they're seeing in their counties and in their results. And then people wanted to know, can we fix it? They felt helpless. So they've got to know that it's fixable. So they needed some faith and some encouragement. And it's not false. I know we can fix it. We just have to do it. And then the next question was, how do we fix it? And they needed that guidance as well. So I help them with that as well. My savings are nearly gone. The plan I had for my life is definitely forever changed. I have no idea what my future is going to look like. But and I could have just ignored all this. I could have said, you know what? I see this is a train wreck. I want to be out of it. I'm going to go leave to some island somewhere. But I couldn't do that because I'm not a selfish person. I like to serve others. I like to help others. I want more love and compassion and good in the world. I can't stand evil. Evil is evil, and these demonic forces. I'm not compatible with them. I don't want that pain. I hate pain. I hate seeing pain in others. So I figured, if not me, who? If I don't step up and everyone just expects someone else to do it, what if no one steps up? What if I was the one that was supposed to step up? So in thinking that, I figured I better step up. So I stepped up and went all in. And courage is contagious. So I also hope that other people forget the fear. None of us get out of this alive. Not a single one of us get out of this alive. So have faith, have no fear, and just go for it. Go for what's right, what's truthful, and that's how we all win. And so we'll see what happens, but I'm feeling good about this. I know what the truth is. I'm honored to be among such amazing people I never would have met otherwise. And it's so amazing to see such wonderful, courageous, intelligent patriots that want nothing more than to fix all this, and will stand up in the face of courage when people are being imprisoned and jailed and assassinated. And we're all standing strong, and I'm not going away. Nothing will stop me. I'll keep fighting till my very last breath. And I'm honored to be among all of you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark.
Well, but whether
Ed.
you guys believe me or not, I believe I've been given a direct mandate from God that I have to do this against my own will until I start seeing the correct people being arrested and indicted, and then I could finally live my life. It's my penance for selling drugs for 7 years. Okay, that's my mandate from God.
I mean, you were kind
through.
of an entrepreneur. It was.
Yeah, but I knew what I was doing. I wasn't a drug user. I have no excuse. It was a total act of evil. I actually am ashamed of it. There's no excuse for it. I really fucked up. And now I have to use my brain for the correct purpose, which is to bail us out of lockstep parallel motion election fraud. The most overt and obvious election fraud ever seen.
You know what I love about you, Ed, is that you've never run away from that part of your life.
Oh, I know. To run away from it would be passing on guilt and responsibility to another party.
You're an amazing man. How's the last 5 years been for you?
Other than the last few months here with Grandma going in the hospice, they haven't been really that bad. I think they've actually been quite comfortable. You know, when you do what's right with in the eyes of the Lord, you know, things tend to usually go well for you. Even if you have to go through the book of Job a little bit at the end of it, you know? That's how I see it.
I would agree with you. Well, I just want to say thank you to all of you. We put all of your X handles in the comments so everybody can follow you. And I look forward to having this conversation again. For everyone that's listening, share it.
Share it like crazy.
This is not, again, it's just another brick in the wall of the fraud that has turned you into a slave. It's not just cheating. It's stealing your voice. It's stealing the soul
Mass
of
deception.
our entire nation.
Yep.
Imagine that every tax you pay right now is directly a part of the fraud that they committed against you. every decision to take from you over the last 2 decades. It was a
The
decision.
lives lost.
Yeah. Look what they did in COVID. Millions of our brothers and sisters were murdered.
Look what they're doing to our children.
Oh, cutting off their genitals, sequestering them without knowledge of the parents. You know, rigging abortion votes. We didn't even show anybody how they rigged the abortion amendments
That's the next
on
show.
the ballot. Why are there satanic pedophiles rigging elections, getting away with crimes, from human trafficking over the border to Epstein to rigging our elections and everything else you name it under the sun, when we have the most concrete over evidence right now that any grand jury would indict all these people for on a dime? What is the Trump administration doing? Somebody please fucking tell me.
I think that's my problem, is that it's going slowly. But I will tell you, I have hope, because President Trump in another press conference literally today talked about election machines. So we're making progress, and there's a lot about to happen.
He has until the midterms, because if they get to the midterms with this malware, that's what I'm going to call it, malware. Okay, malicious software. If they get this malware to compute our elections again in 2026, we're all screwed. And every court case that's currently pending will get silently removed from the docket and dismissed.
Yeah,
this
is our
last
make it or
chance.
break it. We are either going to save our nation, we are going to save this experiment in self-governance, and it's going to be successful for another group of years, or it's going to be the end of it right here. This is it. This is the moment. And I really hope those that can make the right decisions make it, because they are going to control what history shows for this country.
And here's what I'm going to say this, and this might sound really cynical. I'm not going to be the guy that's crying and upset in 2026 when the Democrats somehow win 80% of the Congress. Okay? I'm going to be the guy that's going to be laughing at everybody, saying, you get the government you deserved, and now I'm going to another country. Goodbye. I could not have done any better. I could not have fulfilled my mandate to God any better than I've done in the last 5 to 6 years. I did everything I
carry
could.
It home.
And we
We're
did
gonna do
everything
this
we could. We showed you the most obvious stuff. So if this happens again 2026, it's the American people get the government that they deserve.
Well,
time to act is now.
At that point, it's just, I think we'll be at war long before then, frankly. We don't have much time. I mean, if we wait till next year, we're done. We're done. There's too much time.
This actually has to happen before the primaries.
100%.
Because they're going to rig the primaries too.
100%.
So I don't know what they're waiting for. So like even if Trump somehow solves the problem before the general election, well then are we still getting Coke and Pepsi from the primaries going into the general?
The answer is yes. Yeah. All right. Well, I hope everyone learned something today. Hit the share button, do all that stuff. Guys, thank you very much. God bless you. I'll talk to you individually.
God bless you all.
All right. Take care. That was a lot. That was a lot to digest. And I have people saying, well, they're not going to do anything about it. They're not going to take this information and do anything with it. And I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. Maricopa County was one of the last steps, I think, in getting that information to say, okay, it happened in Carson City. Yeah, it happened in Arapahoe County. It happened in Mesa County. It happened in Maryland. It happened in these places. We don't have anything with massive density that would show that these algorithms were actually being done at a mass scale across the country. And I'm not saying that Maricopa County did that. I'm saying that Maricopa County is kind of another nail in the coffin. Dominion Voting Systems was designed to defraud the American people, owned by private equity firms. So was ES&S, so is Smartmatic. Smartmatic is operating in California, in the largest city in California, in Los Angeles. A company that is largely owned by Venezuelans, based out of Florida. Everything kind of centers around Florida. It's really weird, actually. I'm going to tell you something. One, this is a hill worth dying on. For me, it is. I mean, obviously 5 years of my life and having to deal with the ridicule and go check my Wikipedia page. It's beautiful, beautiful. And here's the thing that I keep coming back to. Had it not been for that fateful moment of Coomer being on that call and doing what he does of bragging about the fact that he was going to make sure Trump didn't win. With all the hate that he had in his heart and talking about how everyone at Dominion had the same ideas and ideology that he had. If it wasn't for that, it's kind of like the Oklahoma City bomber. There was a mistake that's made. He made a mistake. I happened to be there, and I happened to have enough courage to stand up and speak. 99 out of 100 people would not have that courage. 99 out of 100 would, let's go even further than that. 999,999 people would not have the courage out of 1 million people. It's bigger than that. It's a percentage of a percentage of a percentage. And money just didn't mean a lot to me. What did is what we saw and what we've experienced over the last 5 years, man, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. And was it worth it? Yes, it was. It's been painful. It's been super painful. But at the end of the day, we have to be walking a path that's based on truth. Again, 2 dimensions, evil on one side and good on the other. And we can't coexist. Can't coexist in the same environment. Our elections are stolen fully. Decisions made over the last 2 decades was largely controlled by fraudulent elections at every level. And they stole what was never theirs to take. They took away the sovereignty of our nation. And that, we must take it back. You're not going to be able to ask for it back or say, give it back to us. You have to take it. So here, I'm with President Trump in every way possible. And I think that the hard decisions, he's going to have to make them, and he's making them. I just pray, and we're going to pray it out, and we're going to pray for our leaders. We're going to pray for the people that have been standing up for the last 5 years, including many of you. Right? So let's do that. Also, just as some housekeeping, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. Go over, give us a 5-star review. We're now on Spotify video, so you can watch us on Spotify later on as well, on the app itself. Look, we're not. There's a lot of things that we're going to be able to do in the future if we get our elections right. It's going to lead to prosperity that's unbelievable. Let's look at the comments here for a minute. The primary job of the mainstream media during the election cycle is to get the American people to accept rigged elections. That is their primary job. I agree with that. Timothy McVeigh was a patsy. Yes, he was. But the mistake that was made was very clear. He was just driving down the road, right? Jeff's comments are always great. You ain't nothing but a squirrel picking up my nuts in the wide world. Name that song an artist, y'all. Okay. It's sad because people see evil makes you money. Being good makes you broke. Danster, I'd rather be broke and happy than miserable and have all the money in the world. And sooner or later, God does reward you. You just got to stay focused on it. Who is Chris? Listen, Chris, you cannot adopt that. You or Danster can adopt that. You have to fight through it. It's just another obstacle. You fight through it. You don't have to be broke. I mean, I'm going to go broke, but that's okay. Sooner or later, it'll work itself out. I've been through this before where there was a bad stuff that happened. You stay focused, stay committed. You make sure that you're doing the right thing, and sooner or later, it does turn. It does. He says, I agree with that. That's why I'm broke. Peace says, many people don't believe that elections are manipulated, including my husband. Have to go slow. Took too many sleepers. Just have them watch this. Just have them watch this video. Keep on praying for America. Pray for discernment. Pray that Trump leads America back to God. I said yesterday something profound, or that was profound for me, and that was when President Trump said, I'm not sure that I can make it into heaven. So I'm here to tell you that all of us should feel that same way had it not been for the grace of God. And Jesus says that you cannot come to the Father except through me. It's something to consider. I think President Trump is in good company. But he, when he was giving away the Medal of Freedom and presenting it to Erica Kurt, after she was done speaking, and she said, Charlie always prayed for his enemies. President Trump has a fire in his eyes like I've never seen before. And it's heavy. You can see that it's heavy. And he certainly wants vengeance, and he struggles with himself, I think. He struggles with himself in the idea of, I'm just going to keep walking this, I'm going to recognize evil, but he wants to destroy evil. I just pray that we give him peace. So I just pray that you would also give him peace. All right, what else we got? That's it. All right. You cannot kill a Christian, you can only change their address. Rip Charlie. Stop media bias now. Amen. If anyone is going to heaven, it's President Trump. Yeah, I'd say you're right. All right, let's pray. Father God, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to spend this time with Mark and Draza and Ed. Thank you for their hearts. Thank you for their commitment over the last 5 years. Thank you for giving them the courage to stand up and giving them the tenacity and the patience to work this problem for so long, while being called liars and being bullied by people who are just really evil. Father, we are grateful for your grace and for the ability we've had to try and claw our way away from something that we let it erode to itself to this position. So Father, just forgive us for not doing the things that we needed to do in a timely manner and letting things get this bad. And then thank you at the same time for the grace that we have been given to be able to fight our way out of it and to serve you. Father, I ask you to put a special blessing over President Trump and his leadership, his cabinet, our men and women in the military. Father, I would ask you to lift that burden off their shoulders. And that's a lot of shoulders to become burdenless. But I just ask you to give them peace in their hearts and allow them to work the problem against this evil, this other dimension of evil that just feels like we have to live side by side with it and the filth that it creates. Help us, Father, we may do our part. We may walk the path that you see is necessary for us in order to restore you to our country and to our community and to our every way of life. Father, I ask you to bless other nations that they may also have the courage to stand up and fight back against this degradation of humanity and what is right. Help us, Father, that we may be patient, we may be strong, we may raise the sword when necessary, but try to get things done in a way that would honor you. I ask these things humbly, Jesus, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, we'll see you guys. We'll go over the stuff with Pritzker tomorrow and ICE agents. Yeah, God bless you all. Thanks for staying with us. Hit the share button, and we will see you tomorrow.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Tame nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts. loud, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Truth forever. True forever.